The race for the playoffs makes way for the sunny isles and swaying palm trees of South Florida, where tonight we welcome you to the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway and race 15 in season 4 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and tonight's Dash for Cash finale. Welcome to Virtual Homestead, where alongside Francisco Bacchiao atop the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Glad to have you with us on another Wednesday night here for 4-Wide Racing on MaxSpeedTV. Francisco, this is the third of our 3 straight 1.5-mile tracks we visited. Chicagoland, of course, the first. Atlanta just 1 week ago. Both different winners, Colin Forster, Lawson Peel. This time around, we revert back to the Homestead-Miami Speedway, which was also a regular season staple last time we visited. And so tonight will be an extra challenge for the guys to make a forward step to the playoffs, and maybe we get a brand new winner here in South Florida.
Happy to finally be home here, Kenneth. It's happy to be here at the home track of ours, and I'm excited for a good race here today. You mentioned it's our third straight mile and a half, so now we have notebook built up on these kind of facilities. But of course, Homestead is the only mile and a half shaped the way it is, with the progressive banking between 18 and 20 degrees, and not to mention the actual shape that it's in. It's a true oval shape, no quad oval, no tri-oval attributes to it. But one thing that Homestead does blend itself to is tire wear. We see guys like Colin Forrester tend to prevail in those conditions. Of course, last week, Lawson Peel at Atlanta. I look for those two to definitely be some of the strong ones to look forward to here. And of course, Eric Schaefer, one of the primary championship contenders, is probably going to be one to be reckoned with here tonight. I'm very excited. That's going to be the race for the win. And of course, we also have a battle for the Dash for Cash, if you want to take a bit of that.
Yes, sir, indeed. Dash for Cash finale. We have 4 drivers running for cash prize tonight. Of course, all of them qualified their way in on the first trip to a 1.5 miler just a couple of weeks ago at Chicagoland Speedway. As you take a look at the rest of our schedule and just looked over just a little bit more about what this Homestead-Miami Speedway is all about. And by the way, Francisco, a consistent marker for all 3 of the tracks we visited over the past couple of weeks. Tire wear and abrasiveness, very big with these next-gen cars that don't have a lot of downforce and have the 670 horsepower underneath the hood. Here's a look at the rest of our Season 4 schedule. We, of course, take a break from the 1.5 milers. 1 week from tonight, we head to Daytona at night. It'll be our first super speedway race all the way since Daytona to start off the season. Don't make a trip to Talladega until the playoffs begin. We head to our third road course race at Watkins Glen, then head over to the 1.5 miler at Kansas Speedway before we kick off the playoffs at Nashville Super Speedway later in the middle of June. But the Dash for Cash finale, 4 different drivers, all with different ways of getting to this Dash for Cash finale. One of them being Craig Launslager in the 13. He's one looking to get some cash prizes and also got to point his way into the playoffs if he can tonight. Eric Schaefer with 3 wins on the season. He is the second highest winning driver right now in Season 4, behind, of course, Lawson Peel, who, by the way, is also qualified for this Dash for Cash finale. Jesse Prees in the 00. He's been putting up some consistent runs over the past couple of weeks, so maybe he can cap it all off with some rewards by the time the checkered flag waves here tonight for the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Francisco, why don't we take a look at the point standing, see exactly where everything lies by the time that we end up at this point in the season. Of course, there's only a couple of races to go until the playoffs begin, and so far we've had 8 different winners. Everybody else below trying to hold on to the top 13.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season so far, Kenneth. Of course, we've had our 2 prevailing drivers in Lawson Peel and Eric Schaefer getting all the wins. But besides from that, you look at how many different people have been able to capture a win on the season and how many spots in the playoffs that's going to occur. It's going to be interesting, Kenneth. This season has not been like last season at all. We have different names up on the top of that list. You look at drivers who haven't had a win this season, who haven't won in a while, like Craig Launslager. It's been a couple seasons since he's gone to victory lane. We'll try and see if he can get the job done. He was very competitive in last season's race. We'll see who can just get up there and maybe challenge for their first win of the season, or if somebody who already has a win tries to add a little bit more playoff points to their name to try and help their playoff situation. Of course, just a handful of races left. We got Daytona, the road course of Watkins Glen, and of course the mile and a half at Kansas before the playoff field is determined.
And you saw there, as we were looking through the driver point standings, it's only a 3-point spread in that top 13 between Michael Newbraw and Cody Kinsey as it stands. Of course, our stats from the Sim Racer Hub page that we get from all the winners and all the stats that we get in this 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. So things are remarkably getting tight between the competition, and so things may get even tighter by the time we end up waving the checkered here from Homestead and going into what we could maybe call a wild card section of tracks before we end up in the playoffs with our top 13 decided to run for the Season 4 championship. Drivers are lined up trackside behind the iRacing official pace car, which means it is our time on MaxSpeedTV to take you through the grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be starting here tonight from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Colin Forster won 2 weeks ago at Chicagoland. He's going to be looking to get 2 race wins in 3 races in the 99. He starts first with a 32.976. He's the first to see the green flag tonight. Lawson Peel with 4 wins on the calendar, including last week at Atlanta, trying to go 2 in a row in row number 1.
AJ Green got a top 5 here last season, and as your defending champion, he rolls off in P3 trying to get another good start. And how about Brandon Banks, consistently in the top 5 the last couple of weeks, once again in there in P4.
We'll look back to row number 3. Jesse Prees will be one of the highest lining drivers within that Dash for Cash finale group. Of course, Lawson Peel being the first. Curtis Kelly with a nice qualifying effort to be alongside him in P6.
Lance Hill, another one of those Stocks Motorsports groups, down in P7 with Kevin DeLea, solid top 10 qualifying effort.
Nice job by Kevin DeLea to move up to 8th. Craig Launslugger is able to put a time good enough for P9 in his 13 car, and Cody Kinsey will be alongside him to wrap up the top 10.
Adam Alashire, more Stocks Motorsports cars as we move outside of the top 10 now, alongside Kyle Benson, who had a bit of a struggle here last season. We'll see if the new car helps him.
We'll look to row number 7. Nicholas Vizuzzi in the 75 will start inside of that row in 13th, and league owner Tyler Murray in the 8 car will start 14th.
Eric Schaefer, a guy who we look to try and see if he can get up there and challenge for the win, is going to start P15, and Christopher Bishop starting out in P16.
Going to be some work to do there if you're the likes of Eric Schaefer near the rear of the field. Tyler Warner starts 17th, and Matt Roberts will be on his outside in P18.
Austin Reed is going to be starting down in P19. No time set for him, and CJ Munier will be in the top 20.
We'll look to the final drivers in this field. Row 11, Michael Newbraw, Mark Harris, the 6 and the 5, and Ricky Rosner in the 43. Nice to see him back in competition. He's the last one of our full 23 car field here from Homestead. Let's take a look at the weather. It's a sunset setting here in Homestead, Florida. Not too hot of track temperature, Francisco. Of course, not going to be such a huge factor when it comes to slickness, but regardless of the weather, I've heard from these drivers that this car is both tight and loose at the same time. It's going to be a handful to get out of these corners and lap fast ones here around the track tonight.
Oh, yeah, this track is a bit interesting because of the shape that it is, the progressive banking, especially with these cars. It's the track that I presume you and I have the most experience with this race car, and I can confirm what these drivers believe of the race cars and how it's handling. The pace car is coming out of turn 4. It's going to make that left onto pit road. Colin Forster with another front row start's going to lead the field to the green flag, and he's underway. The green flag is out from Miami. See right there, everybody was very ginger through 1 and 2. Kenneth has a dive there to the inside by Lawson Peel, looking to try and take the race lead from Colin Forster. Forster with a little bit of a slip up. He's going to lose the spot. Murray had a bit of a slip up as well, but the high side's going to carry momentum for Forster. He's going to fight back for the top spot. Lawson Peel will lead the first lap as we have a caution on lap 1. Kenneth, a big crash here at the back of the field, and just like that, we have matched the caution counter from last season.
Indeed so. Got a word from Tyler Murray that there was only 1 caution in that ARCA race just 1 night ago. And already on lap 1, we got our first caution. It seems to have involved the 10 of Kyle Benson. You see some of the front end damage and also on the left rear as well. So the Teamer Designs car not looking too great right now as of the opening lap. Looks like there may have been an issue out of turn 4. And indeed, you are right, Francisco. Sort of a big crash. It didn't really start where Benson was at. Actually, never mind, it did, but it was with Eric Schaefer. It looked like I've got into him. Of course, Schaefer, one of the Dash for Cash finale drivers. And as Benson was going around, there was Tyler Murray who got into him. Same deal for Christopher Bishop, who also had a slight tap to the 10 by the time he got to him out of turn 4. And it was just an awkward scenario there, Francisco. I mean, you're coming out of the final corner. Benson cuts down. You see Schaefer gets into him without any intent. And then right here where Bishop is just nowhere to go as they slam into him.
Yeah, it looks like the 22 kind of slid up there in the middle of the corner. Kind of in a bad spot. You don't want to be in between the seams where he was. You want to be on one side of one or on the other side of the high side. If you're in the middle where there is no seams, you just don't have the same amount of grip in the race car. It's just going to want to go up and gets into the side of the 10. Unfortunate for that to happen here on lap 1, Kenneth. Just a racing deal. It's just these guys are trying to make up spots from all the way in the back of the field, trying to work their way up. Especially the 12 of Eric, or the 22 of Eric Schaefer. He wants to catch up to the driver of the 12 here, Lawson Peel. He has to match him now. Of course, if you recall, Lawson Peel got the win last week, breaking the tie in wins between these two. Eric Schaefer would very much like to get up there and potentially match him to have both drivers at 4 wins apiece.
Definitely true, and that does give you a little bit of extra edge in that first round of the playoffs. As you watch Eric Schaefer come out of pit road, Kevin D'Elia just behind him. It was 17th on back. Eric Schaefer in 18th. Mark Harris, the first one to come out of pit road. So majority of the field taking service. And also I noticed Brandon Banks in the 88 had some slightly severe right front damage, so maybe he had a tap with the wall by the time we had that first caution out of turn 4. So caution comes out for the first time here tonight. Believe we'll get the 1 to green signal. Indeed we do. Lights are out on the pace car, so it'll be Lawson Peel, Colin Forster to first and second, but this time switched around. Peel will be the race leader in command. Forster will have to play a little bit of reactionary games in order to try and catch the 12 by the time they head to turn 1. Also to note, we go 134 laps, just over 205 miles. We'll go 321.6 kilometers here from Homestead-Miami. So the same distance, Francisco, from the likes of Chicagoland and Atlanta. And I figure these three, of course, we talked about the prevalence of the larger tracks in the playoffs, but also at the same time, these 3 tracks in a row also very important for a driver to build rhythm at these tracks. When you have the same distance, when you have the same mileage, when you have the same kilometer range, you're practically preparing for somewhat of the same race and the same race format over and over again, because they're all 134 laps.
Yeah, it's basically about half race distance from what the real-life NASCAR Cup Series would do, right? We're running about 200 miles here, and it's good practice for these guys. They're going to run it several times in the playoffs, and it's just getting that rhythm, that mile-and-a-half rhythm. Usually you can carry the rhythm on the different racetracks and make the necessary adjustments on a track-to-track basis, and it's going to be necessary. We talked about this. The mile-and-a-halves are going to be very crucial in determining how the playoffs determine our championship 5. The green flag is out, and a good restart there by the 12 of Lawson Peel. Able to get out by about 2 or 3 car lengths. That's going to leave second and third side by side. Forster trying to use that high side to get clear of his teammate AJ Green, who's sporting a little bit of a throwback there, and that 48. He's going to get clear for that spot. And look at the run he's got. He's actually looking to the outside of Lawson Peel. He's going to get there. He's going to try and roll the top once more. The outside's very useful with this car, Kenneth. A little bit stronger than it was with the Gen 6. You get massive runs off the corner. We're going to see what happens here off turn 4. I think Peel's going to be able to slide up. Indeed, he does. Forster doesn't look for the crossover, but a good battle early.
A great battle between the 12 and the 99, and already what I've noticed, Francisco, is the separation of the field in terms of what line they want to run. Already, the driver's not afraid to go from the inside to the outside, and there's a crossover move to the bottom by Colin Forster. So again, side by side, we'll go for the lead. Schaefer is slightly around on the apron. We'll see if that results in a caution. He's going to slow down and pick it back up, so we will stay green. But Forster to the inside for the lead out of turn 4.
He was clear for a moment, but the run on the high side is going to help the 12 of Lawson Peel get the momentum back. He's got the high side in 1 and 2, and Kenneth, on this end of the racetrack, the high side is far more usable than the high side in 3 and 4. You're going to see the 99 have the advantage. I think Peel may have had a mistake there. You see how much ground he's losing. A little bit of a moment there for your car in second place, and Colin Forster able to take the lead away, Kenneth. And in last season's race, I was able to have a good time there battling with him for a good part of that race. He was a fast car, so I do expect him to be very competitive here tonight.
We saw Brandon Banks move all the way to the inside, so we figured he might have gotten loose and could have almost caused another caution, but a very textbook move at the 99 of Colin Forster to take over the race lead here early on at lap number 8. AJ Green is seemingly fallen through the cracks. He has now ended up in P6. Remember, he started up through the top 3. There's Curtis Kelly just in front. Austin Reedy winning the battle versus Craig Lumslugger. That's Lance Hill just behind that 13, the red and black number 13 Toyota Camry. And so Jesse Prees will move himself up to 3rd. So AJ Green not having the best time at the moment as Austin Reedy continues to put more pressure on him for P6.
And again, what you're noticing is a lot of people have moved up to this high side in the early portion of the run. You see Reedy driving it to the bottom, to the middle lane, really trying to see if he can put those lefts on the bottom seam, and he's got a good enough front to slide up in front of AJ Green. Doesn't do it. AJ Green gets a run off the corner. He'll stay side by side for that position and might clear going into turn 3. But we're seeing a lot of guys using this outside lane, Kenneth, and that's one of the characteristics of the racetrack. But again, I've never seen it so powerful at this racetrack before than with these next-gen cars. They're able to just run that high side and get a lot of momentum, especially in 1 and 2.
And also to note, of course, these cars do have the 7-inch spoiler visually on the iRacing service when they go to tracks like Homestead. We had the same problem at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but make no mistake, these are low downforce NASCAR Cup Series cars with the 670 horsepower motor underneath the hood. So you've got less downforce, you've got a lot more throttle control, more modulation. You do have to brake to get into these corners and in order to roll properly. So I believe that's the case. Why, Francisco, we're seeing such big runs is because there's a discrepancy there. By using the throttle on the outside, you're able to use it a lot more, especially early in the run when the tires are relatively new over the first 11, instead of having the Gen 6 where a lot of the cars are very equal and a lot of the dirty air is way more prevalent. As Adam Alshire almost lost the car. Same deal for Curtis Kelly at a turn 2. So drivers are already starting to experience the first signs of tire wear, but no problem so far for your leader, Colin Forster, up to 0.6 of a second in advantage over Lawson Field.
And the tire wear, it does wear, but it doesn't affect the handling of the car too much at this racetrack. It's just difficult to run consistent laps here with the natural way of the car. It's very easy to break loose on corner exit because you're putting a little bit more wheel into this corner than you are at a most mile and a half. So as the banking goes away right about there, it could easily break loose. So holding enough throttle, but also just enough steering in to get it to turn and get the power down the straightaway. It's very difficult to be able to do that consistently and fast enough to hold the top spot. So that's why we're seeing Colin Forster able to pull out to the lead. A good move here by Reedy to get in front of the 71 of Curtis Kelly, move him up another position up here. He's trying to track down into the top 5. He's moved his way actually into that 5th spot now, as everybody, for the most part, up in the front of the field is running the top, except for your leader. He's running the bottom, which, if you remember, Kenneth, that was the same strategy we saw last season. The top couple of cars would run that bottom, but then everybody else would just use the top.
And we saw a lot of guys do that at Atlanta as well, just 1 week ago, where a lot of guys wanted to stay down low, conserve the tires, not burn off the rears, and then most of the field wanted to stay up high. And we saw what happened to the likes of the driver we're watching right now, Curtis Kelly, along with Adam Alshire, AJ Green. When they ran the top so much, lap after lap after lap, it wore out the rear tires so much that they would lose the car out of the corners, and then they would just lose more speed over the long run. And while most of the field is staying up top, it may get even worse. And for Curtis Kelly, I think the effects are starting to really come apparent here for the 71. Just sort of the same story as Atlanta last week.
Yeah, last week was a struggle on tires for a lot of these guys. You saw them slipping and sliding. That's why they call it hot Atlanta, right? Because we see a lot of tire wear, a difficult surface there before they repaved it. It makes it trouble for drivers, but they enjoy that. They enjoy that aspect of that racetrack, and that's why drivers enjoy Homestead-Miami Speedway as well. It's just, there's no other racetrack that's specifically like this. That's why I enjoy it, and that's why I enjoy covering races here as well. You see almost right to the wall just behind Kyle Benson there. And Kyle Benson trying to recover after that crash. You see Luce behind him as well. That goes back to what we were talking about, how it's just very difficult to put the power down and keep some steering angle into it to get the car to turn and trying to get the straight line speed that you need to complete the lap. You see the 75 of Vizzuti struggling for a moment there. Here comes the 6 of Newbrawl trying to make him some spots as well with some of that damage on his race car. A lot of separation early on in this race, Kenneth, but that's very characteristic of this racetrack because you have to slow down so much in the corners, and it's very dictative on what you do as far as braking and accelerating. You tend to see yourself put it into situations where you see a lot of field separation because you don't have that much opportunity to draft, especially with how short the straightaways are.
And there definitely is a large skill gap when you put low downforce on these cars, because some guys are better at handling the low downforce than others, and even you see it at the top level. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, you could take notes on who was very decent in Gen 6 versus the next gen, the high downforce versus low downforce at a lot of these bigger tracks. You just saw Jesse Prees slap the outside wall and skid on it for just a couple of moments before finally breaking free. And it was Adam Alshire who made the move on the inside. Austin Reedy now moves up to 3rd. And what a great run overall for the first 17 it's been for your Daytona winner, Austin Reedy, who also got the win over at Circuit of the Americas in front of, guess who? The driver who's in 2nd, right in front of him, Lawson Peel, trying to run him down. And Austin Reedy has had a very successful season so far. Right now, being one of the best long-run drivers, the first 18 laps and already way faster than Lawson Pio out of turn 2.
You know, this 11's reminding me of right now Kyle Larson. I've been to enough Homestead races, Kenneth, where he's doing exactly what we see Larson do. He just starts in the middle of the field, but he runs that high side, and before you know it, he's up in the front of the field midway through a run, and he's just absolutely blazing, working that high side, catching up to your leaders as well. He's putting on some really good lap times. So look for the 11 to challenge your top 2 here shortly if he's able to keep this up. You're just able to see the gap visually close. Is able to place that car nicely up against the wall on the entry of the corner. And that's the crucial thing to running the outside. And it's what's very difficult for a lot of drivers. Some guys can't enter right next to it. They have to be about half a car width off and then drift towards it. Use the wall proximity to kind of get it to turn. Reedy able to place it right next to the wall and turns right off of it the whole way out.
And Reedy being definitely one of the fastest cars, and also what I noticed there in 1 and 2, Lawson Pio decided to go up and be in that line of Austin Reedy, maybe to affect his run just a little bit more. Pio had been running the bottom the past couple of times. Now he is moving all the way up to the outside wall. So to see if that change and adaptability makes sense here for Pio later on. Here's a battle for position just inside the top 10. P7, that is AJ Green, Lance Hill going at it, the 2 Stonks Motorsports teammates. Lance Hill and AJ Green, both with wins so far this season. Richmond was the checkered flag event for AJ Green to get his first win this season. Of course, Lance Hill able to get the win at Road America. Both of them have yet to get to victory lane since, but they are both locked into the playoffs. So, of course, that is the biggest thing to know. Green and Hill, of course, part of the big playoff run of Stonks Motorsports, and that was a bit of an overzealous move by Lance Hill, who gets into the rear bumper of his teammate, causes a little bit of beef in the middle of the corner, but Hill loses out, and he's going to have a decent gap if he wants to get back to 7.
Well, last couple of weeks, we've seen these two get together several times on the race. Kind of not exactly what's going on there, if it just happens to be coincidental or if there's something going on that we don't know. I don't want to speculate. But the last couple of weeks, the teammates have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, getting involved in incidents together. And as an organization, that's not what you want. You want to be able to have all your cars running at the end and being able to contend for a top spot. You see Alishire here battling with Jesse Prees. A good run here for Jesse Prees. He's in the dash for cash, and he's running inside the top 5, trying to take the 4th spot away from Adam Alishire. We haven't seen Prees have too many good runs, Kenneth. Last season, he ran inside the top 15, didn't have too much pace, but tonight, that's not the case. He's able to be inside the top 5, makes the move for 4th place, doesn't go all the way up next to the wall. He gives a little bit of space there for the 14 of Alishire to try and make that comeback and carry that momentum around the top side. But I feel that Zero will try to get the job done here in turn 2, but Alishire not going to give it up back.
And right there, this camera, this far shot can really give you a nice look at to how big these runs are, especially out of turn 2. And when you see the track in real life, if you ever visit Homestead-Miami Speedway for a NASCAR race and you witness either the trucks, the Xfinity, or the Cup cars race around here, especially for a long given amount of time, you see somebody run that outside wall in turn 2, and from the grandstands in the front stretch, you could see the effect of the run on the backstretch and how big it is and how much they can really gain off of that. Fortunately, though, for Prees, he's able to stay in front of the 14. Little hiccup there in the entrance of 1 and 2, but it won't affect the positioning too much. Alishire will creep up to the back bumper once again, but for now will not make a move. But really, Francisco, this is turning off of the page from Atlanta. We talked about him significantly last week in Hampton, Georgia, about how solid he was performing, how fast he was running in the top 5. Yes, wasn't the most dominant car by any means of the imagination, but was one of the drivers that would potentially be there. If something happens, if something goes awry with the top 3, he would be there for the taking. And so Jesse Prees really showing his skill at these 1.5-mile tracks and really putting it onto the rest of the field as Alishire strikes the wall in 1 and 2.
That's very much true, Kenneth. Jesse Prees was fast last week. He's been fast at these mile and a halves with this car, and if he's able to keep that up as the season progresses into the playoffs, he might be one to watch to make a championship fight to go into that championship 5 at the I believe it's at Texas, if you can correct me on that, but it's going to be a good job if he's able to make it. Jesse Prees putting on some good speed the last couple of weeks. Hopefully for his sake, he's able to keep it up and keep delivering. So far, Kenneth, I must say we are about 20 or so laps just past the restart on that first caution, the only caution before. And this race, if you break it down into the fuel strategy, assuming we go green the rest of the way, you're probably going to be pitting twice under the green flag. Because of that caution, it should help you go somewhere between lap 45 and 50. And then you're probably going to look to be pitting somewhere around lap 90 and 95. That should get you good to go to the end of the race. Of course, we don't know if any cautions might come out from our track record here last season in the Cup race. That's proven to be that we don't have that many cautions, but you can't exactly rely on that. We already had one early. Who's to say we won't have one again before now in the checkered flag? You see right there, almost contact between the 71 and the 14. Alishire having a little bit of a moment. You see now Freeze is behind him as well, and they're right there with Curtis Kelly. So these three kind of losing a little bit of gap to the top three, but they're battling amongst each other for a spot inside the top five.
Yeah, Freeze had lost out significantly there. I almost wonder if he got loose in the corner and had to pick it back up dramatically, so it allowed Kelly and Alishire to skirt by, and now it's also bringing in the likes of Lanto and AJ Green as they collectively hit the outside wall at the same time. And maybe another driver in the 13, Craig Launslager, who is also a part of the Dash for Cash finale group, so he is one of them running for the cash prizes tonight by the time the checkered flag waves. You know, ultimately, we may have maybe a 5-6 car battle by the time we end up close to our first round of green flag pit stops. That is, of course, if we get to that point. But for right now, we'll turn our attention back to P1. And Colin Forrester is starting to get reeled in by the likes of Lawson Peel. Austin Riddy has fallen off and is now about 1.5 seconds behind your leader, Colin Forrester. Lawson Peel using the tire-saving abilities to maximization. Here he comes to the outside in 3 and 4.
Right now, the 99 has to drive defensive. The 12 caught up to him massively. He's run him down. I think the best thing that the 99 could do is run the outside in turns 1 and 2. That's where the most momentum is going to be on that top. That's the line that the 12's running too. And then in 3 and 4, go run your bottom line. But right there, he goes to the bottom. Peel goes up to the wall. He's going to get a good run here down the back straight, all the way down. And watch this, as he goes down the banking, he's going to have that plus the draft. He's going to close up to the back of this 99. We'll see what's going to happen here in turn 3. He's going to follow him into the corner, try and see if he can go a little bit lower, get a little bit of air on that left front, and see if it can help the car turn. Doesn't really lose ground here in 3 and 4, kind of. That should help him in 1 and 2. But a good fight here between the top two right now, as the 12 of Peel trying to see if he can make a move for the lead. He goes down into the corner a little bit off the wall. He goes up to it now, and now watch this. This is where we're going to see the run happen, Kenneth, like you were talking about. And before any of that can happen, our second caution flag of the night. Looks like an incident right there. Eric Schaefer with the car. Looks like the suspension may be a little bit broken there. The car's a little bit sideways. Looks like he might not be winning the Dash for Cash tonight after being involved in both our cautions.
It's been so tough right now for the 22, who currently is logged in 22nd. It looks like he had the issue just in front of our race leaders, as we had a great battle for P1. That's going to simmer down, and we'll try and see exactly what happened to the likes of Schaefer. And it appeared turn 2 back straight away, the trouble spot for the Chevrolet Camaro of Schaefer. And it was a problem there on the most recent restart after the first caution, Francisco. We saw him dart down to the inside, but was able to gather back up together before anything could go insanely terrible for him. And then right there, just loses the car, locks up the brakes, and slightly almost hit the outside wall, but not enough to really damage his Chevrolet Camaro. And it appears everything goes by smoothly. The leaders are just a couple hundred feet behind this 22 by the time the caution comes out. There's a look at Forster and Lawson Peel as they slowly caught up to the ailing number 22. So our second caution comes out at lap 32, Francisco. And obviously what this is going to do is open things up for pit road.
You're right about that, and I wasn't in this spot, so this is not something I'm particularly used to as far as being able to tell from experience. But Forrester leads the field on to pit road. If he can get a good stop here, he can come out with the lead. Remember, he was the pole sitter, so he does have that #1 pit stall. And at this track specifically, that #1 pit stall, very useful. Why? The white line is right in front of the pit box. It's not just a little bit in front. It is right at the end of your pit box. Watch as Forrester goes right there. You see those white lines right there? All he has to do is get there, but look, he missed his stall. That is not going to help his case.
That's going to be huge. Lost time there for the 99, and it may indeed hand the lead back to Lawson Peel. The jacks going up on all two sides of the race car. There goes the 4-tire stop. Peel will get out first. Curtis Kelly will surge ahead as third. Colin Forster almost lost it to the 71, finds his way to second. Not a great pit stop there for Forster. It would have beat Lawson Peel out of pit road had he not had that little mistake and sliding over the box. That's been a problem, Francisco, for pit road. You have to warm these brakes up before you even try to get the maximum amount of stopping power. that these cars have. So if you don't warm up the brakes in enough time, they get really cold very quickly. And by the time you try to stop and go to 0 miles per hour for your pit stall, you end up overshooting the box. The car does not want to stop, and then you end up in a situation where Forster is in. Ultimately, you have to hit reverse, get back into your stall, and then spend that extra time wondering what could have went better at that stop.
Yeah, that's not what the 99 of Forester wants to see, losing the lead, losing control of the restart. That means on the last 2 restarts, the 12 will be the leader, and that's it's not a good sign for Forster. Forster definitely has a fast car, but if he loses control of the lead like this, it might just cost him later in the race. You want to avoid making those kinds of mistakes, Kenneth. And just looking at how the races played out, those two definitely look like they're going to be the 2 fastest cars out here. Austin Reedy put on a run there under the green flag, but unfortunately couldn't exactly catch up in time before that caution flag. Looks like he lost a couple of spots, Kenneth. Look where he is now, down just inside the top 10. In fact, just might be a little bit outside of. Actually, he's down in 18th, so I'm not sure if a penalty happened. Not sure what the case may be here on Austin Reedy, but he's lost all the ground that he's made up, and he's going to have to pass cars once more, which will be entertaining for us, but not exactly what he was hoping to do.
I'm not sure whether it was a penalty issue to the 11 or whether this was damage repair. It was a 51-second trip down the entire pit lane, but a 27-second stop in his stall. So I figure maybe he was just trying to get his damage fixed, maybe on the right side. We've seen a lot of guys get that already by hitting the outside wall in the middle of the corner or really out of turn 2 or turn 4. So Reedy is going to drop all the way back to 18th. And as you saw our graphic just a couple of moments ago, Kyle Benson, who was involved in the lap 1 caution number 1, he's up to P6 after using his fast repair. So he's going to be starting alongside AJ Green in the 48 by the time we get the green flag. But it'll be Lawson Peel, Colin Forster, the first 2 to the restart here on lap number 36 of 134. Still a very long way to go, but I figure, Francisco, everybody was in long green flag pit stop mode by the time we were in that run. Everybody was separated. Everybody was dealing with their tire wear one way or another. So I figure everyone was just like, all right, here's my plan for pit road. And then the caution comes out and they're like, oh no. Here.
I think I'm happy that this wasn't the race that I had to deal with. Last season, just the 1 caution, just after pit stops, a little bit smoother. I think this one would have made it a little bit more difficult to try to call what we do on pit road, even though it is usually 4 tires and all that. But just it opens up for mistakes and opportunities for others to gain on that, like we saw with the 99 of Forster, overshooting pit road and missing his pit box. Now, again, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that tonight.
So we've got to restart here. Lap 36. Lawson Peel getting the lead off of pit road. He will bring us back on discretion. Colin Forster will be to his outside. Curtis Kelly, Jesse Priest among the drivers just behind them to give support if they need it. Pace car makes its way down to pit road, waiting on the green flag call by Lawson Peel, and indeed he surges ahead, goes up to the gears, clears the field back to turn 1. Lap 36 underway from Homestead.
He goes right to that white line. Forster goes up to the top like we saw in the last couple of restarts. He likes to go up there early in the run before going to the bottom, but this time has a challenge from the 71 of Curtis Kelly, who had a nice run through 1 and 2. You see now the back behind him, Priest trying to battle away with AJ Green. Curtis Kelly with a dive in turn 3. He's going to slide up in front of Colin Forster to move that 71 up to P2.
Saw that 00 Jesse Priest in the far shot of the 71's rear view camera get loose, had to chase the car. Caution flag will come out once again, though, and it looks like it may have been Ricky Rosner and Austin Reedy both around. That is the exit of turn 4 on the racetrack. You see Reedy trying to get back up to shape, but heavy front end damage, and Ricky Rosner with the front clip completely torn off, and could almost say the same for the rear end. Smoke billowing out of the John Deere Chevrolet Camaro. So more troubles here in the back of the field, and more troubles for Austin Reedy, who after losing so many spots on that pit stop, now has to deal some more damage repair to his car. We'll see exactly what happened, and it all started, Francisco, more so at a turn 2 than anywhere else. So really wasn't a turn 4 incident until Ricky Rosner had spun around, but really both of them got loose and had to chase the car out of the second corner. There's a look from the 43. There's the 11. And it looks like they just both made significant contact, chased it down to the wall. Same deal for Tyler Murray, who drifted his way on the back straightaway, went sideways, but it's all right here where things go terribly wrong for Rosner. Gets that little transition between the apron and the banking, goes around and collects the 11 of Austin Reedy with him.
It looks like he straddles the apron. I'm not sure if he thought he wanted to stay below the racetrack or go above the apron, but he just straddles it, and you don't want to straddle the apron at all. That you have banking on one side, flat racetrack on the other. That does you no good. And Reedy just barely taps the inside wall. Murray with a fantastic save here. Loses a lot of time, but able to keep the car clean. But again, Rosner just kind of goes onto that transition area. Not sure which side of the racetrack he wanted to be on. And of course, ends up spinning the car out, and the 11 doesn't have anywhere to go, kind of. But unfortunate for Reedy, who again was up in front, but with that damage repair, presumably that he took on pit road, put him back there, put him in this position in the first place. Probably has to use the fast repair now.
Yeah, definitely so, Austin Reedy, and you're right, just literally got the fast repair right now on pit road. A brand new look for the 11 here. And also, same deal, you're riding on board with the 14 of Allenshire. There were also problems for him on his most recent stop as well. I believe he immediately took some damage repair to follow. He was around 46 seconds in his stall, trying to get his car all shaped back up to 100%. And so he is now 17th on this restart. That's why he was so far back and gave us that shot just in front of him of Austin Reedy and Ricky Rosner getting into it. Of course, Rosner had struck the outside wall on the back straightaway, so it wasn't a loose condition. It was just hitting the wall and ricocheting back down to the racing surface. So Lawson Peel will be back in control on the next restart here on lap number 40, but it's a new driver in second. How about Curtis Kelly, Francisco? A beautiful move underneath Colin Forster, put the pressure in turn 3, made the slide job, and now the Chiquita Banana, number 71, has a chance for the lead.
Yep, we'll see what Curtis Kelly's able to do on this restart, and see if he's able to challenge the 12 of Lawson Peel. Kelly, another one of those guys who's been fast the last couple of weeks, especially on these mile and a halves. Had a good outing at Chicagoland and Atlanta. Qualified, or almost qualified for the Dash for Cash. So we'll see if he's able to try to mitigate that in some sort of a fashion by trying to win here, get himself a race win on the season. Would be his first win, I believe, in this series. He does have an ARCA win, I believe, at Myrtle Beach, but he's trying to find that first Cup win.
He does not have a Cup win. Indeed, Myrtle Beach, you're right, when he went to Victory Lane just a couple of months back in 2021. Green flag back in the air. Lawson Peel with a solid jump to clear Curtis Kelly back to the first corner, but they're side by side for third. Now Colin Forster has to worry about his teammate AJ Green, maybe even bring in Kyle Benson, but Curtis Kelly already on the back bumper of your race leader out of turn 2 as AJ Green gets loose by himself, chases it down the track, will stay green.
And he saves it. He's able to go back up the racetrack. Doesn't really get in anybody's way. A fantastic. Very tough to overcorrect the car there off of turn 2. He doesn't do so, but a caution flag is out. You see a couple cars sideways up there, but doesn't look like it happened at the front. I think somebody in the back, once again, had an issue. And indeed, right there, you see exactly what the issue is. The 6 of Michael Newbraw. No hood on that race car. Once again in turns 3 and 4, putting us under the yellow flag for the 4th time of the night.
Another time, yellow flag comes out, and this was in the middle of 3 wide. So here's a look at him underneath the 89. There's a peek at AJ Green chasing it down the track, was able to pick it back up, and we stayed under the green flag. But here comes Allenshire, moved down the inside.
Wow.
And it really wasn't the 3 wide move. I think it was just him getting loose in the middle of the corner. It snapped on him, tried to pick it back up, and then it just right about there overcorrects the car. And Munier also had the same issue, it looks like. And Eric Schaefer just can't catch a break. Francisco once again involved in the caution in 3 and 4.
Let's go on board with the 6. That was, you rarely see that on the entry. With this car more so, but it didn't look too far sideways, but that's just how it looks on the outside with this car. You feel it going away from you rather early and very easy to overcorrect, like I was talking about with AJ Green. So we're on board right here. I don't know, it didn't look like it got loose, Kenneth. It looks like maybe he saw the 14 going to his inside and thought he had to make some compensation, but there was just no room to his outside. We'll go here. We'll see what he sees with the visor cam. It didn't look like it got loose, but let's look at this wheel, see if we get any sort of indication. Yeah, a little bit loose, but easy overcorrect right there. Just a tad bit loose. That very unfortunate.
Well, but the fortunate thing here for the likes of Michael Newbraw and for Eric Schaefer, they held their faster pair, so they're going to notch it off here at lap 42. There's a clean look for both the 6 and the 22 alike, and I think it was just a case of the overcorrect and probably a bit of both there with the 3-wide situation. Saw Alishire dive it so deep in, didn't really want to be pinching him down to the inside, especially afraid if Alishire had dug it too deep, maybe slide up the track and get into the others. But also at the same time, you saw how loose his car was, already sawing at the wheel before he could really stay on the brakes and roll through the apex of the corner. And that's one thing that these drivers are still learning, quite frankly, Francisco, about these next-gen cars, is the fact that they're so twitchy, they snap so easily that most of the time you're playing a lot of guesswork seeing when it's going to snap. And even sometimes when the car is not snapping, it feels like it's getting loose and you feel like you have to correct it even when you don't really need to because the car is just staying where it's at. So for Newbraw, I feel like that might have been the case along with 3 wide, and unfortunately gets him into the incident. So, I mean, they'll be all the way at the back of the field. It appears that Newbraw and Schaefer will restart 19th and 21st. Ricky Rosner, as an update, he is 6 laps down, and he is pulled behind the wall, so his night is over.
You know, Kenneth, and what a time that we're here in Homestead-Miami Speedway, right? Because about 30 miles away from this racetrack, well, there's a Eastern Conference playoffs game going on at the FTX Arena, so an active night here in Miami for the sports world.
That's definitely true. Trying to get that 3-2 advantage on Boston in the conference finals. Of course, trying to get to the NBA finals that'll start later this summer. So the heat is definitely on in downtown, and the heat is up here in the virtual side. Lawson Peel, Curtis Kelly, 2 Camaros bringing us back to the green flag on lap 44. Why don't we shut up for a moment and take you through the sights and sounds of Homestead-Miami Speedway as we crank it up here on MaxSpeedTV.
That's Curtis Kelly around on the back straightaway, Kenneth. He just took the race lead away from the 12 of Peel, who had a moment in turn 4. No caution out, but Kelly around and loses all his track position.
I was just about to say, bringing us back from the Crank It Up segment, the caution was almost waved there on behalf of the 71 as he got sideways out of turn 2 in the far shot and then chased it down, was not able to save it like AJ Green did a couple laps ago. And so what a hit it is for Kelly, who falls all the way back to 22nd all by himself on the racetrack. And now it brings in Kyle Benson, P2, trying to chase down Forster.
And we didn't see this out of him in last season's race. He struggled all night long trying to get back position. The caution flag's going to wave for the 5th time here tonight, Kenneth. It looks like Austin Reedy once again with Michael Newbraw. These two, or actually, no, that's the 75 of his Zoot team. My bad on that. But the 11 involved in the 2nd straight caution of the evening. A little bit of right side damage there after using that fast repair. Nothing that he can't fix, but not ideal as we're going to ride on board. It looks like it happened in front of him. And it just hasn't missed. And the 75 just kind of coming down the racetrack just a little bit, gets into him at the worst spot. We're going to see what happens up here, up in front of him. Mizuki going to move up and gets loose. Looks like D'Elia had his own moment, but this is a separate part. Looks like Freeze also had a moment as well, but just contact there. And as he's trying to gather it back up, nowhere to go for the 11 of Reedy. And the caution flag will wave, backs it into the wall, does Vizuti right there. Wow, just amazing.
Unfortunate there, and it was kind of a sink synchronization there where they all got loose. Here's Tyler Warner, who also got a hip check out of the 75 while he was chasing it down. Fortunately, Warner misses pit road, so won't get any penalties for unsafe pit exit or does not hit the pit road attenuators, which is obviously never a good sign when you're at a racetrack. So Tyler Warner will get away mostly scot-free with some right front damage. We'll see where he assesses that on pit road if he does elect to go down there. And so for everybody else, just again, Austin Reedy involved in another incident. And remember, he had already used his fast repair, so Reedy down to 20th. He's going to join the likes of Matt Roberts, CJ Munir. There's Vizzuti getting his fast repair. Tyler Murray on pit road as well as he crossed the line for lap 49 here of 134. We'll take a short break and go side by side. You won't miss a thing here as we continue race 15 and our coverage of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series from Homestead-Miami and the Dash for Cash finale. We'll see you on the other side here on MaxSpeedTV.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway, we continue round 15 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series in Season 4 from South Florida. Ready for a restart here at lap number 51 of 134. It's Colin Forster and Kyle Benson, the first two to see the green flag. Our most recent caution involving the likes of Nicholas Vizzuti, Tyler Warner, and Austin Reedy. A good jump by the outside lane, and as they head for turn 1 and 2, Stocks Motorsports occupies first and second. Look at Lance Hill with a gorgeous restart to take second out of turn 2.
And look at this, almost 3 wide. In fact, it is 3 wide. Peel squeezes to the outside. Benson looking at the inside. And into turn 3, they're going to stay 3 wide, trying to organize this as best as possible. Peel has the most momentum on the outside line. There's Craig Launslarger trying. And Peel gets back up to P2.
What a job by Lawson Peel to immediately make quick work of the 38 and the 10 and gives them full sight of the race leader in the 99 of Forster. They go side by side for 5th. That's Brandon Banks. Craig Launslarger now in a tally with the 48, trying to be the third party in it. Almost contact between the two. Austin Reedy gets loose in the backside. They're at a turn 2. We remain green. Everything clean for the moment. Here comes Lance Hill trying to build up another charge on Peel, but can't quite do it. Everybody running the inside lane in 3 and 4.
Restarts here have been very hectic all night, Kenneth, and this has been no difference. Just a lot of guys get loose, and that probably goes back to what I mentioned. You're trying to get as much as you can out of the restarts, and that means trying to be more aggressive on the throttle and the steering inputs. And off of turn 2 specifically, it's just very, very peculiar as D'Elia on the right side of your screen goes around to the inside. I think may have hit the inside wall. He rejoins safely. Doesn't look like he has too much damage on that left side, but that goes back to what I was saying. Trying to put too much throttle and steering it at once, and in turn 2, the banking goes away so aggressively that it causes cars to spin because there's no loading on the tire. You're just turning in the flat, and the cars just don't have enough grip for that.
Here's a battle now brewing up for third. Kyle Benson trying to make some methodical moves here on Lance Hill and rode the inside lane. Same deal with Lawson Peel in second. Two Sox Motorsports cars decided to stay high. This time all of them mostly heading for the inside, apart from Benson in fourth. And they continue to do around fifth on back. It is not getting any easier for the likes of Craig Longslugger, Brandon Banks, and how about Eric Schaefer? Got involved in a couple cautions to start this race, and with that fast pair, he's up to 8th on the racetrack.
Good recovery for the 22, trying to see if he can put some slightly new tires into use. Of course, he had to come down pit road to get the fast repair and fix some potential damage on that race car. So slightly fresher tires on that 22, but he's making the progress. He's trying to get up there. You see Jesse Prees a little bit further back. So a couple of Dasher Cash guys now starting to find their way up in the front. We haven't talked about it too much because Lawson Peel has kind of been the one in control of it all race long. But if these guys can get up there and challenge for these top spots, as Alshire spins off turn 4, he locks it down, comes back onto the racetrack, almost gets hit. He's gonna slide once more, keeps it straight enough to the point where we won't have a caution and flag. A close call there for.
And I was just about to mention, too, Alshire and Schaefer had been making steady progress together after both falling back through the field, either because of crashes or damage repair or pit road mishaps. And now for the 14, got loose all by his lonesome out of turn 4, and he falls to 21st on the running order, and at least is able to keep his car straight without any damage from the inside or outside wall. That's going to lose him a ton by the time, especially if we stay under this green flag scenario. Top 4 have broken away from the rest of the field. It's only about a 0.6 of a second spread between Forster and first, and Kyle Benson, you're riding on board with him right now, the last one in this train in P4. So things very close between all of these guys as Benson looks underneath Lance Hill for third, not able to do it, and they'll stay single file. Peel still trying to close in on the 99, but all of them just basically stagnating around this point.
And this wasn't what we saw in last season's race. You never really saw the front couple of cars really stick together like this and just break away from the field. There was separation amongst spots and sometimes a couple of packs, but usually in the middle to back portion of the field. Up in the front, there was a lot of separation. Not the case that specifically here tonight. We haven't really seen the leader really get away. Shows that a lot of these guys up in the front have similar pace to one another, but of course we haven't had that long of a run to really see just where everybody stands against each other. Hopefully we're able to get one here soon so we can see where everybody stands as far as a full fuel run and maybe a green flag pit stop or so. But right now, seeing a good pace between the 99 and the 12. You see D'Elia after that moment he had able to try and recover. There's Jesse Prees now with the 8 to his inside, almost into the outside wall for this position inside the top 10. And they're a couple seconds back from the main group. If you look at AJ Green, 2 seconds off from your top 4, but he's kind of solidified that P5 spot, so and not too bad for him.
Definitely not bad at all for AJ Green, who moves up to 5th, and for Tyler Murray, what a run through the field it's been after really struggling to start off this race. As of lap 60, able to get ahead of the Dash for Cash finale driver, Jesse Prees in the 00, and may strike on the 13 and the 88. That's 8th and 7th if he can pass both of them. So we get further into the top 10 if he ends up in that point. Here's a battle now for second, maybe even for the lead. Lance Hill going to the inside of Lawson Peel out of turn 4.
Peel's going to get the momentum off the corner. Hill can't exit all the way up to. Look at that run that Peel gets. He's now going to look to the. A little bit of side draft action going into turn 1. You might see him try and go deep here in turn 1. Actually doesn't. He's rather patient with it. That's going to allow Forster to try and get a run. He's clear at the moment. Is he going to slide up? Yes, he does, and he contacts. Peel goes to the bottom of the track after getting tapped from Forster. A good save there, and we're 3 wide.
3 wide for the lead in turn 3, and the 2 Stocks Motorsports cars out of nowhere are now tallying side by side. Here comes Peel, remaining his hopes down low. Same deal for Kyle Benson, who's now getting to the inside of Colin Forster. We're door to door, 2 rows deep back to turn 1.
This is amazing, Kenneth. This is absolutely amazing. We're seeing both lines able to work, but the high side able to really give good momentum. We'll see the same thing right here. Hill has a good run. Peel this time hesitates to go back up, and for good reason. And here comes Hill, a little bit of side draft. He's going to try and get the momentum into turn 3. Kind of runs a little bit off of the top here in 3 and 4. You don't really want to go all the way up to the wall. Advantage to the 12. He's going to slide up off the corner once again. Hill's going to try and get the run off the corner, but he's going to actually get a little bit of side draft from his teammate. Won't allow him to go to the inside this time, and you see the 12 trying to protect the top now against the 30 from being able to use it. And actually, Hill stroked the wall just a little bit, Forster now to the inside.
And Forster's almost getting a 2-for-1. Got to the side of the race leader. Now going to shut the door on his teammate Lance Hill, who does not look to go back to the bottom in turn 3. And meanwhile, Kyle Benson watching all of this saying, all right, you two go at it. I'll just pounce when I need to. Almost contact between the two coming out of turn 4. And now here comes Benson to the inside of Lance Hill for 3rd.
I think Lawson Peel wants to see all this go on behind him. He wants them and say, hey, you guys keep battling against each other. I'll just go ahead and pull away. But Forster trying to break clear of those two to get back up there and catch up to your current race leader and see if he can do something about that and try and retake the lead. Remember, a couple of mistakes on pit road have cost him the lead. And if we get another caution here soon, Kenneth, he doesn't want that to happen again. So he wants to get back up there, lead the race once more, and see if he can get past the 12 of Peel. Forster, very fast, but so is the 12 of Lawson Peel, trying to chase his 5th win of the season.
And Peel could have almost been in catastrophe there out of turn 2, because most drivers could end up in a wreck by making a wrong slide job move and making contact with a guy getting the run out of the 2nd corner on the outside. And I believed for a moment that he was going to lose the lead, fall back to 4th, and maybe even lose out to 5th on back, but kept his foot in it, kept the car straight, and all of a sudden he is back to P1. But my biggest concern here, Francisco, is the damage. Peel was able to escape somewhat with some right rear damage. We're not sure if it's going to affect the aerodynamic portions of the race car, but for Forster, he's got a ding on the heavy front end of the Chevrolet Camaro, so I'm not sure if that's affecting Forster's handling or his power output too much, as he remains in 2nd. Doesn't look to be too harsh on the end. But to think about it, Hill and Kyle Benson with drastically cleaner cars, and that move by Peel may have cost Forster big time if it does.
It didn't look like it was that big of a hit, so I'm not actually concerned about the 99 right now as far as the cleanliness of his race car. It was a minor tap. A minor tap can send that car around, considering how sensitive they are. And there you see the 8 actually of Tyler Murray's moved his way up. There you see the 88 of Banks trying to get his way back up through the field. There's the 11 of Reedy and 71 of Kelly trying to fight their way back up to the front after their respective issues. This is all inside the top 10. Of course, Eric Schaefer's worked his way up in the 5th, Kenneth, about 2.5 seconds off your race leader. So Schaefer with a good recovery. Wouldn't count him out yet. As we complete this lap, Kenneth, we are now officially halfway through this race. There's Schaefer right there, pulling away from the rest of the field, trying to chase down your race leaders.
And I believe he was also smiling when the guys up in front were battling side by side, because ultimately they're losing more time, and Schaefer is just hanging around like, all right, if you guys keep doing this, I'm just going to stay where I'm at, and I'm just going to hang around, relax, run my own race, and wait till you guys make that mistake. But here comes Colin Forster to the outside for the lead against Lawson Peel, not the strongest 1 and 2 out of the 12. And now at a 3 and 4, here comes Benson to make it a challenge for 2nd, as Peel is able to officially clear back to 1st.
Looks like Forster had a bit of an issue there running the outside in 3 and 4. It allowed Benson to go to the bottom and get side by side. They're going to stay side by side here in 1 and 2. Advantage to the 99 in 1 and 2 with that high side momentum. You're going to see right here with his nose cam, that 99 should just about go by on the right side. There he is. Look how much faster on the top there in 1 and 2. We'll see if he runs the bottom, and he does. He goes back to the bottom after that mistake on the high side. He's going to try and follow the leader for a little bit and see if he can do anything to gain a little bit of ground on him. You see right there, Benson trying to ride with them. So these 4 have not escaped each other at all, Kenneth. Not at all what we've seen here a season ago.
Definitely not a lot of a closer race. And speaking of close, last time by as they crossed the line, how about 1/1000th of a second of difference in lap time between Lawson Peel and Colin Forster? 34.095 for Peel, 34.096 for Colin Forster. It is remarkably tight, even 1st through 4th, because Benson and Hill are not too far off, 34.2, 34.3s, and they're still remaining in this group with the draft. So this is one of the best races we've seen out of a quartet all campaign long. And if we stay in a long run, Francisco, guess what? Traffic is going to be a factor. There's a lap car all the way up ahead. Not going to be a factor for the moment. But if it does become a factor, this leader, Lawson Peel, is going to have a lot of work to do. It's definitely not over yet.
Lap traffic is a huge thing when it comes to these big racetracks. You feel like you have the ability to go anywhere, but where you catch them is the most important thing, because if you catch them on corner exit, that's about the worst spot you can catch up to them. You have to check up for them on exit. You can't go all the way out to the wall. You can't roll the momentum all the way through, and it allows whoever's behind you to just catch up to you in a massive rate. And of course, then they have to get by them, but chances are they'll probably get them at a better spot, probably in corner entry, where they could just go to the different line. The car will let them through, and they're not able to have to worry about that on corner exit. So we'll see what happens there. Kelly loose off of turn 2. He's trying to get to the back of the 48.
And this is the battle 8th on back, 8th through, frankly, 11th, if you can count Brandon Banks here, maybe even all the way back to 12 with Craig Lautenslager here in this group. So while we're talking about the battle for the race lead, 1st through 4th, 8th on back is definitely having their own bit of scuffles. There's Curtis Kelly to the inside, trying to make this pass complete in 1 and 2 officially, but hasn't been able to do so just yet. AJ Green has been very consistent on the outside, at least consistent up till now. Gonna hit the outside wall, and then may give clearance for Curtis Kelly to slide up. Indeed it will, so move to 71, back up to 8th after falling back just a slight bit over the past couple of cautions and that last run. So now it feels like, Francisco, things have officially calmed down. Maybe not between Forrester and Benson. They're still relatively close, but for Pio, he's now starting to make some headway. 0.4 of a second of a difference between himself and Colin Forrester, and we are closing in on a potential strategy for pit road. It's been 41 laps since any of the guys in the top 4 have come down pit road, so sooner than later, we may see some stops happen at some point.
Of course, and do remember, we had a couple of caution laps there, so you're looking at about 50 into their run. So I would say somewhere in the next 5 to 10 laps, you're looking at potential pit stops out of these guys, and it's right on the mark. I don't think they could go to the end. I think they're about 15 laps short if they were to go to the end on their current fuel run before they can make it to the end. So far, it's still technically a 2-stop that everybody has to perform in order to get to the end. So not exactly out of the woods just yet, but when you pit is going to be important. I think given the cautions that we've had here tonight, that's why you're not seeing that many people try and go for a little bit more aggressive of a strategy. If you know you have to stop twice, you can try and make the tire stints a little bit shorter from one another to try and use fresher tires to gain a bit of time. So that's not what we're seeing out of these guys right now. I don't think they want to do that, just given the fact that there's the potential for the caution as we've seen here tonight, and they don't want to get trapped laps down.
Definitely true. And now my question ultimately is going to be who comes in first. I know the leaders are now 41 laps into a stint. The next driver in line is Eric Schaefer, who currently is 34 laps into his stint. So we reckon he's going to stay on a little bit longer. Austin Reedy and Tyler Murray have also fresher tires, 7 laps to the good in front, or rather behind of Eric Schaefer. They're ahead of Schaefer in terms of the tire life. 27 laps for them. Also include the likes of Curtis Kelly, who's also on this 27-lap stint. So we may have a large spread, and it may just come down to the top 4. Not sure who's going to strike first out of this group, but it may come sooner than later, and I figure the answer may come in the form of Lance Hill in the 38, who's fallen back significantly. And there goes Eric Schaefer trying to pounce in for 4th.
He is slowly catching up to some of these guys up here. Saved a little bit of a... They are also going by that lap car. I believe Matt Roberts just got a lap down, so those are that's the person they're all going around just now. And there's a little bit of separation now, Kenneth, but if I'm one of these guys, I think the best move you can make is pitting as late as possible. Not only do you stay on the lead lap if the caution comes out, but you have a tire advantage for the next run. I'm not sure how big of an advantage these different tires the next gen cars have. I just know that it does still exist. So if you're able to stay out that much longer, get the newer tires later, it could work out for you the very next run. So all you have to do is maximize your pit road entry and exit. Don't lose any time making mistakes on or off pit road.
And that's going to be even more interesting because with the fact that I just mentioned those guys earlier on the stint than the top 4 runners, they're going to probably try to extend it longer, and that may just pose a large discrepancy and ultimately may hurt the top 4 if that strategy is played right on behalf of the guys further within the top 10. And speaking of top 10, what a run it's been for Curtis Kelly, one of the better long run cars, and now starting to square up here on Tyler Murray, the square D, number 8 Chevrolet Camaro from Murray Beauty Motorsports. Curtis Kelly slowly but surely making this progress, and look up ahead of him, 3 cars for position. Austin Reedy, that black and yellow number 11, the black and blue number 38 up ahead the road, that little dot Lance Hill, and Eric Schaefer in the black and orange number 22. And as Curtis Kelly makes the pass complete for 7th, that 71 is on a mission right now as of lap 80.
Kelly's trying to get back to the front. Remember, he had an issue while leading the race. Cost him all his track position. He's trying to get back up there now, and Schaefer got past him. And you see they're very loose off of turn 2. It's going to cost them the spot once again. But I think he'll take that over the wrecked race car.
And Schaefer, we've seen some dramatic saves, Francisco, out of this 22. We've seen him go completely sideways, 90 degrees sideways, and he still somehow manages to save the car. And unfortunately, it hasn't been the greatest start here from Homestead-Miami, but it's not where you start. It's about where you finish, and that 22 has done a solid job of getting a clean race car intact and just running lap after lap after lap consistently as he officially clears the 38 out of turn 2. No hiccups this time by, and so Hill will fall to 5th and maybe even P6 if Austin Riddy is there for the taking. So Hill is the first out of the group to fall off as Lawson Peel now grows a lead to about 1.7 seconds. There's a lap car, Mark Harris, just in front. And so time is ticking for these guys. And I figure for Lance Hill, Francisco, these passes are pivotal to the call. They may influence you a little more to say, all right, I don't think I'm worthy staying out as long as possible. I think I may come in as soon as I'm done with this run because I don't want to deal with this car anymore.
I think now, Kenneth, if nobody's bitten on pit road yet, you might see some of these guys stretch it because there's a possibility that's developing. If these guys can go, I would say, forget any of that. Forget any of that. I was about to say the caution flag has just waved, and we're going to see exactly what happened. That's going to take away any sort of pit stops. You see Warner there going slow with damage. You see the 16 going slow, and you can't help but feel that something must have happened with the lap car of Matt Roberts. We're going to try and get a look of it. You see it mid going on there, and Roberts on his own gets loose off of turn 2, hits the wall, slides back across the racetrack, doesn't exactly hit anybody.
Right there.
Oh, what is that?
Came to a stop sideways in the middle of the backstretch, and then that's why the caution came out. So a caution was not flown until that very moment where it came to a stop and hopped on the brakes. So you see here on board with Roberts, smacks the outside wall, and yes, this could bring a caution, but if you're straight enough, going at a certain speed, it will not affect you, but it's right there where the car hooks to the right and he hops on the brakes. And so that brings out a pivotal caution at lap 83.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that, Kenneth, right there. He had the car under control and dangerously stopped on the racetrack. I'm not a fan of that.
So as the 16 brings out the caution, here are your leaders coming in. We had the wonders about who was going to come in first, and that's going to get thrown away in a moment's notice. Everybody down in, but it reckons. And Lawson Peel will be the first one out on 4 tires and fuel. There's Eric Schaefer, Kyle Benson coming out, Lance Hill losing out, Colin Forster barely there. But the 12 will win the race out of pit road. It'll be first for Peel, second for Forster, third for Benson, fourth for Eric Schaefer. Lance Hill lining up the top 5. So not the biggest loss if you're the 38. I think if you're Lance Hill there, Francisco, that's a saving grace caution right there. The car was not handling well, losing a lot of spots, and could have lost a lot more if it had stayed green up until that point. So a timely caution for the 38, and also timely enough where he could get his fast repair, get a clean number 38.
Where it's not timely, though, Kenneth, is that you're outside the fuel window by a substantial margin. They just hit with 51 laps to go, 52 actually laps to go in the race, 51 now. But that's not enough to go the rest of the way on fuel. You have to probably pit around 45 laps to go to stand a chance. I know we'll have potentially some caution laps here, and maybe those aren't the last pit stops, but if we do get another run, I don't see these guys being able to make it to the end. So it's going to be very interesting seeing what these guys decide to do. If I'm somebody in the back of the field, Kenneth, I would fill up. I would come down pit road and fill up. I have nothing to lose. I won't lose that much track position. I come down pit road, ensure that I can have a better chance than the leaders at making it to the end of the race, and just do something different and go for the win.
It's going to be a big call, especially if we get another long green flag run. But like before the last long green flag run that we just had before this caution, we had a myriad of yellows come out, so in between. So maybe that could help if the cold tires end up producing some more yellows. Obviously, hopefully, we don't see anybody getting more wrecks. But if you're these leaders and you're worried about the fuel and not being able to stretch it as far as lap 134, the cautions are going to give you some more insurance. They're going to give you more opportunities to come down pit road. And obviously, the most important factor, they're going to let you clutch and coast. So that's going to save you some extra drops as well. Lawson Peel going into this race won at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so this would be the first time that a driver goes 2 races winning in a row, and it'll be the first since himself. He did it at Las Vegas and Michigan, going 2 in a row in a win, so if he does it, it'll be the second time that the 12 goes to victory lane 2 weeks consecutively. And he would, of course, take his 5th win of the season. We'll have a 2-win lead over Eric Schaefer for the playoffs. Colin Forster looking for win number 2 after getting his first at Chicagoland just 2 weeks ago. Eric Schaefer looking to tie on the mark with Peel for race wins. And Kyle Benson, who is mired back in the top 20, not in playoff territory right now. If he can get that win, it'll change the entire trajectory for the rest of the regular season, and we'll see the 10 fighting for a championship by the time we get to Nashville Super Speedway. There's still a long way to go here from Homestead and Francisco. If we've seen the great battles out of this top 4, I don't know what to expect next time we go green. They may get even more aggressive.
It just might. We haven't seen it all yet from these guys. We've seen a lot, but we probably haven't seen it all yet. And it's been prevalent since early in the race that these two, the top 2, have been the fastest all night long, no doubt. Colin Forster and the 12 of Lawson Peel. And seeing how competitive both of them are, both of them getting out there and leading laps, it made me feel good on a personal level because it meant neither one of them beat my laps led from last season. So as a driver, I'm happy.
Well, unfortunately, you're not in this race to keep your Homestead streak undefeated, as for now. But Lawson Peel looking to keep his streak alive of wins. Colin Forster looking to snap it and get his 2nd. Green flag back in the air, lap 87 at 134. And once again, it's Lawson Peel to the gun first. Colin Forster getting some help from Eric Schaefer by the time they reach to turn 1. They're side by side for 2nd, but Peel with no concerns coming out of turn 2.
A good lead here off the turn 2, and it looks like Benson has a run, and he's going to be side by side with Forster on the back straightaway. Forster runs that high side early in the race. See if he's going to go to it again. Goes to the middle. Doesn't really go to a seam, and you see right there Eric Schaefer a little bit further back. Going to take spot away. Peel loose. Somebody else loose as well, and he's going to spin. That's Curtis Kelly, who spins to the entrance of pit road. Doesn't hit the barrels. Oh, and he has to go through pit road. He's going to have to back up here, Kenneth. Actually, no, he's going to... this is costing us so much time, and he goes to pit road. This is going to hurt the 71 massively. He's going to go a lap down.
And that's the 2nd time that Curtis Kelly ends up in a situation like that. Remember, out of turn 2, stopped on the back straightaway, cannot get the car back righted, and so almost lost a lap because of that. This may be a lap lost as the leaders come out of turn 4. Here's the battle for 2nd. Colin Forster on the inside. Kyle Benson trying to fend up top. Benson will be able to clear, and there's a caution coming out just before Curtis Kelly gets lapped. It's Kevin D'Elia around on the front stretch.
That is a huge saver for this driver, the 71, but also critical timing. The 10 of Benson moved up into P2 when that caution came out, and we're going to see what happened here exactly as we're riding here with Craig Lounslager. Looks like he gets loose in front of D'Elia, has nowhere to... A good save there, and just barely clips him there afterwards. D'Elia then around. Nobody hits him, thankfully, after that, so no real damage to anybody involved. Just unfortunate that minor touching between the 13 and the 53 results in just a harmless spin by the 53 of D'Elia.
Taking right on board with the 13. There was a battle for position. There's Austin Reedy down low, but right about here, middle of the corner, snaps on Lautenschlager, corrects it right there, checks up in front of the 53. Just bad positioning, and then right there, snaps, hits the nose on the rear end of D'Elia's car, and not much that Lautenschlager could really do to control the damage as he ends up getting by without any extra hits on that 53. But for D'Elia, ultimately, that's going to lose him a lot of track position. That was a save for Curtis Kelly. He did not go a lap down, and he's going to gain more positions out of that because Preece and company are down pit road. And it has turned sour for the likes of Preece and for Craig Lounslager, 2 out of the 4 Dash for Cash finale contenders tonight at Homestead-Miami Speedway. There's Preece assessing his car on the pits, and Lounslager, of course, being involved in that most recent caution.
And you see a couple cars came down pit road there, and it's crucial that they did. Why? You can go to the end of the race now on fuel by topping off here without having to worry about saving. So a good move by those in the back of the field by trying to make that move. And I think it could work out for them if we get a long enough run. Of course, if we just keep having cautions intermittently, a couple laps and then a yellow flag, that won't really matter too much because they'll be able to save under the caution flag. But it could play a factor, and I think it helps to have the insurance of fuel there. So right now, the top two being the 12 and the 10. We'll see who's able to get a good restart. We'll see if Benson can get a good restart here, Kenneth, and try and challenge for that lead.
And Benson has been having some decent restarts so far, but none of them have been able to beat the 12 going into that first corner. Of course, Peel being the discretion car, being the control one, to lead us back to the restart. He's been rather smooth on that, and that's really been the consistent marker all season, really, Francisco. The fact that Peel has just been so consistent. We haven't seen him falter all too many times in Season 4. And so Peel just trying to keep that up. And Colin Forster also didn't have the best restart past couple times by. It's been rather sluggish for the 99. So hopefully he can pick that up, at least for the moment. So another caution here at lap number 91. We'll remind you that 1 week from tonight, we go super speedway racing at the World Center of Racing. The 4-Wide Racing Cup Series in Season 4 continues its road to the playoffs, and the last races of the regular season will go back to Northern Florida and Daytona Beach, Florida for round number 16 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. That, of course, next week, June 1st, 2022. That'll be same time, same place, 9:10 p.m. Eastern here on the MaxSpeedTV YouTube channel. That's going to be a lot of fun, Francisco. Second time we go to a super speedway race, and it's been a very long time. Of course, last time we were at a track 2.5 miles or longer was race number 1. And we saw how good the Murray Reedy Motorsports cars were and how intense the racing was there. Can't imagine how wild it's going to be by the time we get closer to playoff territory.
Yeah, and it's not that far from where we are. We just take about a 4-hour drive north on I-95 before we get to the Daytona International Speedway. So we stay in-state before we go racing a week from today. Excited to see the super speedway racing there, Kenneth. I think it'll be really good, and I can't wait for Talladega in the playoffs as well. We've seen some exciting stuff with this car as far as the super speedways are concerned, and I think we'll get some good racing there. Of course, we still have the race here tonight, just under 40 laps to go. It hasn't exactly been the clean race like we remember seeing a season ago, and even like yesterday, where we did have the one caution flag in the ARCA race, but it will probably still come down to a run. And the 12 has been fast on these runs. So I think if you're the 10 of Benson, the 99 of Forster, or even the 22 of Schaefer, you have to do something on one of these restarts. You have to do something, anything, to make the pressure on the 12 increase so that you can make an attempt to go for that lead. Restarting in the lead is very crucial. If you can lead on a restart late here, you just might have a chance.
All right, so line him up back for a restart. Lap number 93 of 134. Again, still wondering the condition on fuel for most of the field. Christopher Bishop on back had visited pit road on the recent caution. We'll see what lines up for them. Green flag back in the air. Lawson Peel with another good start, and Kyle Benson gets left for dust. Here comes Colin Forster to the inside to potentially challenge for second, but Peel will bring the field back to turn 1.
And Schaefer was giving a good push to the 10 of Benson to try and get him and stay side by side with the driver of the 99. Forster has a good turn too, but the problem is Benson has a good exit and actually has a little bit of an issue, and that allows. Here comes Schaefer now to the inside trying to take that third spot away. Lance Hill waiting in the top 5.
And the 10 of Benson got loose out of turn 2, so bringing the 20. How about 4 wide? Back in the top 10. That's AJ Green in the middle. Cody Kinsey had another one down there, and Adam Alishire, who immediately backed out of turn 4. Nicholas Vizzuti trying to challenge for position on that front. And Tyler Murray, who is very much on the high side, hoping that he could stay clean with the rest of the field. Luckily, they do. They're side by side for about third on back. Here's Eric Schaefer underneath Kyle Benson.
Owning up to the league name, aren't we? 4 wide there in 3 and 4 at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Enough room to do that. And here comes Schaefer, who gets on that seam, and he's going to get loose off the corners. That momentum. He's going to lose a couple of spots here. It looks like Hill's going to go by for 4th. Reedy goes by for 5th. Another one's going to go by for 6th. He's actually side by side for that spot right now with the 88 of Brandon T. Banks, who's just kind of been there all night. Not really been too loud, not really been too quiet. But he's there, and around goes the 10 of Benson. Another car.
Benson sideways on the back straightaway. Caution will not fly as he's underneath the racing line. He'll pick it back up before much things get worse. But Benson ultimately is going to lose out the fight for 3rd and may even be put a lap down by the time this is all said and done. Tyler Murray also fell deep within the top 15, top 20. And we will stay green at Homestead. Here's the battle for the lead. 0.2 of a second for Forster and Peel.
And we'll see if we can get a good shot here of Forster. He has an opportunity. He's been fast on long runs. That was the case to go very fast start. And actually, a cautions flag is going to come out now as we have an incident further back on the back straightaway. Once again, you see a little bit further back, another red car with issues. Looks like Vizuzzi also had an issue. That's Craig Lauenslager, actually. Looks like Kevin D'Elia further back with more problems as well. So just before we get a battle for the lead, Kenneth, it seems like the caution flag just decides to wave.
And it looked like two different incidents here. At a turn 2 back straightaway. Here's a look from where the 13 is, but Curtis Kelly is up the road right there underneath Nicholas Vizuzzi. I believe he got loose going up the seams, and indeed just faced the same scenario as Kyle Benson, wiggled the car before officially getting sideways, but I don't think that's officially the cause for concern. Lauenslager went all the way to the inside, but ultimately there had to have been somebody on the racing surface, and it was Kevin D'Elia who got hit sideways. So this was just in front of the 13. All three of them calamity corner, it appears, for them. 53 and the 71 get loose. 13 slams into D'Elia's spinning car. Everybody else fortunately gets by without a hit. But Kevin D'Elia once again in trouble on the back straightaway. Comes to a dead halt, and the caution is out once again.
Yeah, so Lawson Peel is able to keep the lead there, which again is very crucial for his shot to get a good restart, because having the lead on these tracks is very crucial to getting a good restart, and that's been the case all night. He's had the lead every restart after the start of the race, which is when it becomes useful because you decide when you go. At the start of the race, of course, is on the green flag, so it's kind of equal, which is why we saw him able to take the lead away from Forster on that initial start. Excuse me, but ever since then, we've seen Peel able to take control of the restarts, and that's been very crucial to what he's been able to do. I think if the 99 gets even a chance of taking the lead away in a caution, then we flip the script, and now it's up to Forster to control the restarts, which could result in some very good things for the driver of the 99. Just over 5 laps to go in this race still, and given the caution flags we've been having here late in this race, kind of still a lot of things that are left to happen.
Telemetry tells us if we stay green, we'll go the next 20 minutes before we get this checkered flag here tonight. And of course, giving another opportunity for the field to come down pit road. They do not, so they will stay. Looks like Kyle Benson has actually made a call for the pit, so maybe this is good enough to get him to the finish. And I believe for Curtis Kelly, it was a prompted yellow there last time by when he was coming out of pit road. It's another timely yellow for Kyle Benson, who could have been a lap down all by himself after getting loose out of turn 2. The biggest problem he's going to have now is cutting his way through the field, although that is ultimately way better than just lapping the race by yourself. But we're seeing at the same time over and over, Francisco, in a lot of these cases of loose cars, we're seeing it come out, number 1, out of turn 2, but number 2, in between the seams. And I talked with Tyler Murray, the league owner, just a couple of moments before we got the green flag tonight from Homestead-Miami, and he was talking about the fact that this car is tight on entry, but immediately when you put the throttle to slide up the corner, it gets very loose. And unlike a lot of other 1.5-mile tracks, Homestead has very long exits, so you're not really just going to have a sharp transition from turn 2, turn 4 to the back straightaway. You're going to have more of a seamless approach and exit out of the corner than you would anywhere else, and that's really what's biting these drivers right now, that transition, those multiple seams where drivers slide up, they think they're okay, and then the car, much like it's done all season long, just snaps out of nowhere, and they don't know how to control it.
Yeah, it's been an aggressive snap out of the car, and with the long exit, it has more opportunity to do so, and that's what we're seeing. So we'll see if they can get a handle on it. It's very difficult, again, as I mentioned, but we'll hopefully get a good enough run. And it only really happens on restarts or with new tires. It doesn't really happen on old tires all that much, so hopefully we can get a couple laps under our belt, and we'll be good to go.
So the restart will look like this as of lap 101 when we go back green. Lawson Peel, your race leader. He'll be the control car once again, and it's been on everybody else to try and pick up what he's been putting down. Colin Forster will be this time outside row 1 in second. His teammate Lance Hill will occupy the bottom side in row 2. He'll have Eric Schaefer to his outside, the 38 will, and then another Stocks Motorsports car behind Lance Hill, AJ Green in the 48. To rack up the top 5, Nicholas Vizuzzi, Jesse Prees in 6th and 7th, Curtis Kelly, Adam Alashire, and Christopher Bishop to your top 10. We haven't really talked too much about the Dash for Cash, but it's really because Lawson Peel has been commanding that group since the very drop of the green flag. Things ultimately may change. This 12 has been one of the most dominant drivers all race long, and we'll see if he can hold it all the way to the checkered flag, coming to 35 laps remaining from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Pace car will make its way down to the entrance of pit road. Pia will have the discretion, and we'll see if he goes early or late. Pace car will make the charge down low right now, and the 12 will bring us back to green. 35 left to go from Homestead. Peel up and away to bring the field back to turn 1.
A good restart once again for your race leader, but Forster looks like he's clear for second going into turn 1, so he doesn't have to fight off anybody on corner exit. Schaefer, good high side for him. He's going to try and get past the 38 of Hill here, and he's going to have a good run. So gets the draft off Forster, so move the 22 now up to P3. Forster's going to try and see if he can do anything to challenge for the race lead. Eric Schaefer trying to take a podium spot away.
And he's been very prevalent on that outside lane, trying to fend off against Lance Hill, who made a charge down low in 3 and 4. Looks like he will officially clear by the time he goes back to turn 1. Not enough charge to break in on the battle for second. But so far, Schaefer being one of the only ones to use the outside line. And I think things have changed. The motive has also been a different motive now than it was earlier on in the race, where we saw in that opening run, everybody wanted to go up high. Now it looks like everybody wants to go down low, except only a handful. So it's been a majority decision to go back down to the racetrack, maybe in an effort to save those rear tires. And they learned their lesson for the opening 34 as a huge hit happens in turn 4. Nicholas Vizzuti hard into the outside safer barrier, comes to a stop, and the car will be immediately towed to pit road. Caution is out of lap 103.
Unfortunate, and results in a tow there for the 75 of his. Hasn't had a good night here, and he's right there alongside the 0 of Jesse Freeze, who's in that dash for cash battle. Just gets Lutz up there on his own, not really on the seam, and he's trying to correct the car. And oh my god, a hard hit for the 14, who actually gets stuck on the wall. The wall grab right there just kind of holds that 14 in place, and there's nothing he can do about that, so he also has to tow. So tough end for his chance to win for the 14 of Alshire. I know where to go. You see again, Vizzuti just gets loose on his own, almost has it saved, barely clips the 14, hard into the wall. That's as hard as an impact to the outside wall as you're going to see.
That's as abrupt as possible, and for both of them, they immediately towed it to pit road. Of course, Alshire had no other option, really couldn't do anything else but go down pit road for a tow. And Nicholas Suzuki, his car all torn up, cannot limp it back to pit road, so he's also down there as well. And a hard hit for Adam Alshire, and really there's nothing to do, Francisco. You can't do anything in that scenario. You see a car get loose on the top of you while you're just battling for position, and if he chases it down the track, so be it. You can't really position yourself, and it's hard to predict where that car is going to go. So it's such an unfortunate end to what was a solid start for the 14 of Alshire, who is not going to be able to complete a top 5 or top 10 run here tonight from Homestead-Miami Speedway.
Yeah, and I hope that this doesn't affect any of our top drivers here tonight, Kenneth, because it looks like that has been the affected to the same extent as some of these guys have. So hopefully for their sake, they're still able to have good restarts, have good race cars, not make major mistakes that'll take them out of contention for the win. That would definitely be devastating for the likes of the 12 of Peel or the 99 of Forster, or even for the 22 of Schaefer, who's been in recovery mode all night long and has found himself now in the top 3. So I hope for their sake nothing bad necessarily to them, but you still have to maintain focus here in these closing laps through all these restarts, because this car, 1 minute you can go through a corner and it's fine, the next it'll do something completely erratic.
So there's a look at a majority of the top 5, portion of the top 10, as we'll, I believe, get the 2 to green signal, so we will not go racing this time by. And also to answer the question that Zigag asked in the chat, this is iRacing fixed setups used for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, no open setup league, and I don't believe they tweaked the setups either. So these are just iRacing official fixed setups that you'll have given to you if you go official racing on the sim. I know it's going to be a while before Homestead pops up on the NIS or a fixed schedule, but these are all fixed setup cars. Everybody has the same equipment. They can change, of course, the rack and pinion steering options, of course, can change brake bias, can change steering degree, angle, but for the most part, it is all fixed. Everybody has the same car, and you cannot tinker with the suspension or anything else, obviously, because iRacing mandates you to use the fixed setup, or else you just can't race whatsoever. And to think about it, Francisco, the runs on the 1.5 miles, I think we found the drivers strong enough to run. Of course, Lawson Peel he's an easy check mark, one of the most dominant drivers all year, not only on these longer tracks, but on practically every single venue. Colin Forster, though, he's really shown up in this stretch of races. Of course, the win at Chicagoland put him into the playoffs in the first place, but his run at Atlanta, can't ignore that either, and you cannot ignore this run tonight from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Same deal for the likes of Lance Hill, AJ Green. They've done really well at these larger tracks, so you really have to think that if we're going to have larger tracks in the Season 4 playoff schedule, if all of these guys can make it, the Stocks Motorsports groups, including Lawson Peel and maybe the likes of Eric Schaefer and company, we're going to be in for a great playoff fight for the Championship 5.
And this is what we said that Forster needed to do. When we approached these mile and a half starting in Chicagoland, we needed to see him show some speed. He's been struggling all season up until that point, got the win at Chicagoland, and has had speed ever since. He needs to keep it up in every one of these racetracks because, as we mentioned, they occupy basically every single race in that playoff battle. So whoever's fast and consistent at these types of racetracks, you'll most likely see battling for the top spots or for the win in those races as well. So if you're Colin Forster, build those playoff points right here, right now. You have to do so to try and get back to that Championship 5 and get for last season.
And also to make up for the discrepancy on Lawson Peel, has built up so many playoff points since the drop of the green flag this season and ever since getting his first win. And by the way, Colin Forster, before that Chicagoland win, he had won at a road course, or rather a short track in season number 3. It was at Rockingham, a very short venue, very abrasive one as well. Green flag back in the air, and for Forster, that's not a good restart. It's going to open the door for Eric Schaefer to get back in P2 to the 22 into turn 1.
Good restart there for Eric Schaefer. He now moves up to the second spot here, Kenneth. He's going to take it over from Colin Forster, who tries to fight back. He's going to look to the inside. He gets there. He's going to have help from his teammate. A little bit of teamwork there going on in Stocks Motorsports to try and help Forster get back up there. But if he battles the 22 for too long, Peel's going to look at that and say goodbye and try and pull away.
And how about all three Stocks Motorsports cars walking the inside there in 3 and 4? They're going to separate here by the time they get to 1 and 2. Forster still on the inside of Eric Schaefer for second, with the teamwork starting to make the dream work in a 3-wide action just in the latter half of the top 10. There's Forster up top out of turn 2, not able to clear the 22, and Lawson Peel has headway to pull away.
He's trying to do just that. He's about 4 tenths ahead of this duo that is battling very hard for the second spot right now, Kenneth, and they're still side by side. You need the track position. Now's the time in which you're going to need it, and Forster continues to battle away with the 12 or with the 22 of Eric Schaefer. If you're the 38 of Hill, do you help your teammate or do you try and do what's best for you to get up to second? Because I'm not sure if you're going to catch up to that 12 of Lawson Peel. The only person that seems to be competitive enough to do so is, of course, the 22 and obviously the 99 as well. As here goes now, the 22 clears for second place, and now Lance Hill is going to go up into that third spot. But I tell you what, Peel's made some mistakes there in 3 and 4. That's going to allow the 22 Schaefer to get a big run for the lead. He's not exactly to the rear bumper yet, but he's definitely in striking range as the caution flag waves.
The caution flag comes out again just before we continue our long green flag run. And we're going to try and diagnose exactly who it might have been. By the time the caution flag away, there's the whole field slowing down. Not sure entirely who it might have been by the time we got this yellow, but we'll take a look and see exactly who it might have been. Potentially, I think Adam Alishar, and the answer is yes, it was the 14. Got the fast repair, came back out on the racetrack, went sideways, and right there, as he stopped on the racing surface above that white line, that is the place where iRacing and race control automatically would throw a yellow regardless of the circumstance. So Adam Alishar already dead last from the drivers that are currently in the running order, as he is multiple laps down in P20, and the field will slow down to give way for the pace car.
And of course now just over 20 laps to go. And I think with all these cars, at least if we go in regulation, I think fuel to make it to the end now. Enough laps have been run with the engines turned down, everybody clutching, coasting, going in idle gear for the most part. I think everybody's probably good to go, so no issues on that front. But again, it's going to come down to restarts. Forster did not have a good restart that time. Eric Schaefer, on the other hand, had a really good one. We'll see what he does now, restarting second. He restarted in fourth and was able to really get up there. See a lot of guys faking on the pit road. Brandon T. Banks, though, is going to come in try and see if he could do something different. Again, if I'm somebody in the back, you don't lose anything in coming down pit road. You have extra sets sitting there. If you finish the race with extra sets on pit road and you're not at the front, it's almost like you didn't do your job. Come down, get some tires if you're not going to lose too many positions, and see just how far that takes you. I think that's probably the move to do if you're one of those guys further back outside the top 15.
And also to note, these guys have not come down pit road for the moment. Lawson Peel and company are now 28 laps in the stint. And as we cross the line, we'll have about 22, 23 laps to go from Homestead. So ultimately, we are getting rather close to the 50-lap mark on a stint. Maybe these guys are comfortable with pushing it that far. Maybe they know they can stretch it and not have an issue. But we haven't really seen any saving methods out of your race leaders as you ride on board here. Cockpit look from your leader, Lawson Peel. And right now, Francisco, would be the crucial time to go saving, going clutch and coast. But at the moment, really not doing that. Same deal for Lance Hill, Eric Schaefer, also on the low revs. All of them in 5th gear. So, of course, they're not on high revs to waste any more fuel than necessary. But none of them trying to save, at least hard save for the moment. So it looks as though these guys maybe understand that they're good all the way to the end, and they won't have any issues as AJ Green faked down pit road, but immediately went up high to let them know, no, I'm not coming in.
Yeah, I don't think you're seeing them hard saving because of the amount of caution. I think you could just kind of ride around 5th gear saving up like that to where you won't have to worry too much about fuel. And I don't think this will be the last caution considering how this is all played out so far. So I think, excuse me, I think we're still in for something to happen here as far as more cautions, more restarts, more opportunities for somebody up in the front to make a mistake. And if that happens, if the 12 appeal makes a mistake, who's going to be the one to capitalize and take the lead?
So Lawson Peel, P1, let's look at the entire field coming back in. Of course, Adam Alashire getting back on track. Like we mentioned, caused that recent yellow. He is 2 laps down, so he'll need a couple of yellows to get himself back in the running. He's the only one multiple laps down on the racetrack. Everybody else who are laps down are pretty much out of this race. That includes Nicholas Vizzuti, Tyler Warner, and Ricky Rosner, both 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Will not be able to finish this race, unfortunately, but Alashire just needing a couple more yellows to get back in the game. Hopefully he can recoup the positions lost over on the past couple of restarts. But what I will notice here, Francisco, is that I think finally we have a challenge for first place in the Dash for Cash. Lawson Peel has been up front all race long, and it looks like he has put himself in another league comparative to the rest of the Dash for Cash finale drivers. And now to his outside is another orange banner car for the Dash for Cash. So who knows, we may have a side-by-side battle before this race is done. Eric Schaefer trying to take the win to even Lawson Peel on the driver win list and win column here in 2022 and get some cash prizes along with it.
Kind of a double, right? You get the race win and you get the money prize. So these two are not just battling for the race win, they're battling for money. So a lot more on the line between these two right here, right now, than it would be any other event. So we'll see just how these two race each other, how hard they go and push to try and see if they can capture a race win and some money prize.
And that'll be great for obviously both of them. Lawson Peel would reap the rewards of what's been a dominant season so far after joining halfway through season 3 and winning his first race at Richmond. Remember the 2-tire call that got him to the win on the green flag circumstance, or green-white checkered circumstance, as a matter of fact, with 2 laps to go. And then obviously the win at Atlanta Motor Speedway that set him off for season 4, and he has not looked back since. He is 20 laps away from his 5th win here in season 4. Pace car makes its way down. Another solid jump out of your race leader. Forster trying to push Schaefer to clear for 2nd, but Lawson Peel will bring the field back to turn 1, and they're side by side for 3rd.
Side by side, a little bit further back there, you see Schaefer trying to rock the right side. He's got Lance Hill now to his inside, trying to get to the quarter panel of the 22. Can't get there. He's going to tuck in line. Colin Forster now down in 4th. Austin Reedy trying to work his way back up through the field. There's Jesse Friesen. Laps as Reedy tags the wall. He's going to lose a couple spots there. He keeps the car pointed straight, though. A couple cars kind of going a little bit all over the place, but everybody going straight. AJ Green going to the inside of the 0. I think Colin Forster gets to the outside of his teammate, trying to go for that position. He backs out of that. And there you see now, side by side for 2nd. Lance Hill's putting on Saw him do this last season as well. Very fast on some of these restarts. If he's able to get up there enough, can he challenge for the win?
There were multiple cars sideways. Austin Reedy, Kyle Benson being two of them near the rear of the top 10. Eric Schaefer with a wiggle, but here's a slide out of Lance Hill in 3 and 4. He'll be able to save it without any damage. Out of harm's way he will go, but that will lose in the fight for second. They are rambling for third on back. Here's AJ Green to the inside of Forrester for fourth.
Forrester had a moment having to avoid Hill, and they Green, so they both slid on the front straightaway for a good portion of time. That cost them both general time to the front position. Somebody going off to the inside wall. I couldn't make out as they're 3 wide in turn 3, and look right there, that's the 10 of Benson.
Kyle Benson around to the inside wall once again, but just like the last incident, will not have a caution thrown his way, so we will stay green. Smoke coming out of the 10. It looks like his night may be over. Here's side by side for fifth. Jesse Breeze underneath, or rather on top of Curtis Kelly.
You see Curtis Kelly trying to see if he can do anything to muster a good result here after the mere moments he's had here tonight. Underneath Jesse Breeze trying to do what he can. But we'll see right now. This is the time where Eric Schaefer has to cut into the race, Kenneth. He has to do something about this. But now he's a little bit more under fire from Colin Forrester for the race lead. Lawson Peel just able to pull away, has a pretty good gap. In the meantime, Schaefer trying to use that high side. He's using it on both ends of the racetrack. I'm not sure if that's probably preferable in 1 and 2, but he's losing time in 3 and 4. Didn't have a good 1 and 2 there. That allows the 99 of Forrester to get right behind him. And Peel wants to see this. He wants to see these two battle each other.
And right now, Peel is 0.3 of a second ahead of Eric Schaefer, and this will ultimately grow that lead. And especially if we go into a long run, Peel has been one of the best when we get past lap 15, lap 20. We're approaching 15 laps to go from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway, so this may be the sweet spot for the 12, although he has not extended the lead all too much just yet. Forrester again underneath the 22 in 1 and 2, not enough to clear Eric Schaefer's huge run out of the progressive banking, but this may be the step in the door that Forrester needs to officially clear for second. And Francisco, it has been so hard to challenge against guys that run all the way to the wall because of the huge runs they get. Forrester not able to complete the pass just for the moment, and they'll stay side by side.
That was big. Forrester needed to get clear there. It looks like he is a little bit faster than Schaefer and fast enough to possibly catch up to your leader. The problem is Schaefer is trying to do just that, and them two battling over who they want to catch the leader is going to allow them, neither of them, to catch the leader. They're going to be too busy fighting each other that they're going to let Peel get away. That's not what you want to be. Keeps the spot. Forrester's still under the attack. They have to settle this out and let somebody go up there and challenge the leader.
Well, fortunately for them, they haven't lost too much time to the 12 of Peel, as once again the 22 slips up on the high side. The 99 will have a chance to move down low, and you'll make note of it in 1 and 2 once again. But they've stayed in range with your leaders, so it's not like Peel has officially run away just yet. It's just been a slight skip around. As finally Colin Forrester almost got clear there, but got loose before he could get in front of the 22. So that moment momentously slips away, Francisco. And you said it. It looked like he had to have made that move if he wants any chance at Lawson Peel, and that may have lost in the battle right there.
And look, they're still side by side. Forrester almost got back to the inside of Schaefer. Schaefer's not catching up to the leader, doing what he's doing. He's going to have to do something different in 3 and 4. He's doing good in 1 and 2, Kenneth. He's just losing too much time in 3 and 4. You have to change it up. You see, he doesn't have a good corner again. It allows Forrester to get to it inside. He's making too many mistakes right now. Forrester's definitely the faster car, but they're battling each other. They're not battling for the win. They're battling each other.
And that last time by, Lawson Peel was about 0.3 of a second faster than the likes of Colin Forrester, 0.2 of a second in front of Eric Schaefer. And again, the gap will grow to about half a second and counting, maybe 0.6 of a second by the time they come out of turn 2. Once again, the 99 trying to stay down low in hopes of clearing this 22, but the road only gets harder, and it's only going to get worse by the time the tires wear out, because Forster's going to lose a lot of that life down there trying to push his car underneath Schaefer, who's mostly just playing defensively up on top. So it is ultimately going to get harder, and it's only going to push them more into the negative as Lawson Peel takes 10 laps to go from Homestead.
He's looking at this and he's saying, thank you, keep this up, but no cautions, please, before now and the end of the race. a good outing here by Lawson Field. Very dominant and trying to see if he can put the race to close. Of course, we still don't know for sure if this is going to be the way it ends. A caution can still happen at any moment. It's been that way all night. But right now, the second and third place cars just battling each other way too much that none of them are able to put a run against your leader. They're too busy scrambling, trying to take the spot away from each other, that Peel's just driving away.
And again, another failed attempt from Colin Forster. Looks like he builds a good enough run to stay door-to-door with Schaefer in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 just not able to complete it. And he's thinking what could have been if he had finally cleared that 22 out of turn 2 and not had gone loose. And they're also bringing in his teammate, Forster's teammate, AJ Green, in the 48. So things may not be over by the time this race is complete. Forster will try again to make a run at Eric Schaefer, but it will be off for not coming to the back end of turn 4 and to the front straightaway. There's the gap growing to Schaefer. There's the gap all the way to Lawson Peel. It stagnated around 4 to 5 tenths of a second, about half a second between these two. So it has been better for the 22 for now. But ultimately, Peel, if he can keep this up, I mean, that's an easy win right now. And we're coming into 7 laps to go.
But Schaefer has to do something in 3 and 4, Kenneth. He's time running the top. It's not as effective in 3 and 4. He's worried too much about Forster right now that Forster just gets to his inside off the corner and just cost him too much time. He trying to run that different line. He's doing just fine in 1 and 2, doing what he is. But if he runs the bottom in 3 and 4, now you start putting together lap time. He's just not doing that. So critical mistakes here from the 22 are not allowing him. Just continues to battle. You see they're side by side again for a second.
And Forster once again will dive underneath, thinking a slide job here potentially as they will cross the line for 6 laps to go. And once again, Forster maintains, this time finally clears for a second on Schaefer. So the long-awaited move now comes back at him as Schaefer will retaliate inside in turn 1.
Schaefer now running the bottom for the first time in a while. He's going to slide up. He's going to get in front of Forster. And, almost contact. Schaefer's going to save there. But you can tell, Kenneth, he was just pushing the car too much, had not been used to that line. He's going to lose out on that one. He's going to lose down to third. Of course, Colin Forster lost some time there. Not sure if he was going to get hit there. And this just blew the door wide open for Lawson Field.
And it blew the door wide open for AJ Green to get a podium. Colin Forster had the door shut on him by Schaefer there in the last couple laps. And now AJ Green is in potentiality to take third and now second away from his teammate. Eric Schaefer will fall back to 4th and now will be at the clutches of Austin Reedy. That's Curtis Kelly. They've been going out of the past couple laps, so we'll see what happens out of them. But it's all Lawson Peel, 1.3 seconds ahead of Forster, looking for 4 laps to go from Homestead.
A comfortable margin there by the 12. Fast all night and mistakes by the drivers behind him. No big mistakes made by the 12 to really keep him from winning this race. Still hoping for no caution to come up between now and the end of the race. And you can tell no pressure. He's putting that car wide on the right line. Reedy's going to touch the wall. Looks like Murray's also going to touch the wall. They're going to be 3 wide off. Hard contact. Cars going all over the place. This is not what the 12 wants to see. Good thing he can't see it in his mirror. The more cars contact with the wall.
That's going to be worse for Eric Schaefer because he's got a lot of cars willing to take position away. There's Brandon Banks up high, Jesse Priest, Curtis Kelly, and now Tyler Murray, who was just slid up in his 6th. Now Austin Reedy will try to fend for 4th against the 22. Look to the inside for a moment, but can't quite build up the run to turn 1. And Schaefer all by himself in the wild, trying to see what he can do, or at least try to hold on to a top 5 and get some solid points. Tyler Murray hits the wall once again. Lawson Peel still 1.3 seconds ahead of Colin Forster to 2 laps to go.
And he hopes to complete this next lap faster than the last lap, get to the white flag. I'm sure no caution comes out to end his race or give him something to think about. But right now, a good move by the 12. He's been fast all night, Kenneth, trying to wrap this up.
And for Peel, this would be his 5th win in this 2022 Season 4 campaign, and just putting the icing on the cake to what's been a dominant stretch so far in the regular season. And what can you say about the dominance of the 12, how good he's been week in, week out, whether it's at a road course, a short track, or 1.5 mile venue, this time by Lawson Peel. Will grab 1 lap to go. The white flags in the air from Homestead-Miami Speedway. Colin Forrester a bit too far to make any sort of statement against this 12. He tried multiple times on end, tried to fight against Eric Schaefer to get to second to make the next step. But ultimately, it will be all for naught. A big wreck coming out of turn 2. Tyler Murray, Austin Reedy involved in it, but the focus on the number 12. Lawson Peel comes out of turn 4 and will get win number 5 in 2022. Lawson Peel wins at Homestead.
Dominant. That's the word that describes the 12 tonight and this season. 5 wins on the season now for him. Come very close at these mile and a halves the last couple weeks. Got the win, of course. Second win on the mile and a halves. You see Colin Forrester coming up to congratulate him on the win. Just very fast all night, Kenneth. You could tell from the drop of the green flag when he made that pass early on. He was going to be one to be reckoned with, and everybody's coming up giving him a congratulations. And what a job by him, Kenneth. I don't remember before last season if we had anybody that's captured this many wins on the season. I know we saw Colin Forrester get 4 last season. We saw Scott Healy get 4 in his championship season. I think this is the most that we've seen while we've been covering the series, and there's still plenty of races to go. So Lawson Peel with 5 wins on the season very well could get a lot more.
So he will burn it down from Homestead, the 5th win in season 4. And he is the first driver since himself this season to go 2 in a row on 2 different occasions. Peel getting the win at Vegas, then at Michigan in 2 consecutive weeks, and does it again. Last week's closeout at Atlanta Motor Speedway follows to a dominant race here at Homestead. And by the way, he's won the Dash for Cash. Orange banner car dominates the race, and he gets the money along with the checkered flag.
He takes the double, so that's as good as it's going to be. So great job by the 12 of Peel. Very fast once again, just very, very impressive stuff out of him. And he's going to be looking forward to Kansas, that's for sure, Kenneth. If he's fast at these amount of halves, I'm sure he can't wait for Kansas and the rest of these playoffs to play themselves out so we can see him try and battle for a championship.
So we'll take a look at the full field results, see exactly where everybody finished at the end of 134 laps. No overtime needed for this race. Lawson Peel gets win number 5 on the campaign. You got to give your hat off to Colin Forrester, though, how good he was all night long. The speed is there for Colin Forrester, and that's going to be big time by the time he gets to the playoffs. Again, he is already locked in via a win at Chicagoland. How about Stocks Motorsports 2nd and 3rd? AJ Green finishing within the top 3. Brandon Banks is able to surge over for a P4. Eric Schaefer, who had made slight contact with Forrester out of turn 2 with a couple laps to go, fell all the way back to 5th. But Eric Schaefer, what a recovery effort it was for him after being involved in 2 yellow flags to start this race off. Jesse Preece, short of the Dash for Cash, but you also got to respect the speed that he carries tonight from Homestead. 2 weeks in a row where he does well consistently. He finishes in 6th. Craig Lundslugger follows back in 7th. Curtis Kelly brings the Chiquita Banana card to P8. Kevin D'Elia rebounds after multiple crashes tonight. And Cody Kinsey, didn't talk about him all night long, but he's the last one in the top 10.
CJ Munier with a good P11 there, had a very quiet night and able to avoid the trouble. Michael Newbraw, despite his fair share of issues, will finish in 12th. Marquis Harris finishing in 13th. Christopher Bishop with a better finish here this time in 14th. Tyler Murray involved in that last lap wreck will finish in 15th. Lance Hill had his issue on that last run, finishes 16th. Austin Reedy, again involved in that final lap crash, will finish 17th. And Matt Roberts, who will be the last car on the lead lap at 18th. Adam Alashar had his problems all night long, will finish in 19th. Kyle Benson will finish in 20th after being fast in the middle portion of this race. Unfortunately, unable to get that top 3 it looked like he could have gotten. Nicholas Zazuzzi troubled some night, will finish in 21st. Tyler Warner finishing 22nd. Ricky Rosner, first time out here in a while, will finish, unfortunately, last of the cars that registered, in 23rd spot.
So those are the final drivers here from the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. A very stout field, a couple cautions, some chaos, some great racing, and Lawson Peel gets win number 5 on the season. Why don't we talk to the driver of the 12 who goes to victory lane once again here from Homestead, and we'll bring in the 12 from victory lane here in South Florida. Lawson, your 5th win on the campaign. Again, another exclamation point to what's been a dominating season so far. And you get the double. You get the Dash for Cash prize with it. How do you feel?
Pretty good, KB. 5's not a bad number, is it?
No, definitely not whatsoever. I think that that's the most we've ever seen in a long time, if not ever, within this series in recent memory. But 89 laps led. I mean, an overall dominating performance. And you had some challenges around you again, Colin Forster. Look at AJ Green, Eric Schaefer, a lot of drivers trying to fight with you for position, but you held your composure in. What was it like to especially keep the lead and be as consistent as you were on some of the long runs tonight in between with those caution flags coming out?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of all those restarts. Thankfully, we went green on that last little stretch there because I didn't want to have to keep restarting. It's just it's crazy on the restarts, especially for the lead car because, you know, your tires are a little cold. I mean, I'm sure y'all saw earlier in the race, I went through 3 and 4 right after the restart, I believe, and about wrecked it. So I was really lucky not to wide it up right there. So you're just really on the edge here. I mean, if you go down in the corner just a little too hard, you're going to lose the rear traction, and you know, that same on the exit. I mean, you really just got to be disciplined, and so it's one of these tracks where you feel like you should be able to drive harder, but if you do, I mean, it's so tempting, but if you do, I mean, you pay the price. So you got to stay disciplined and let those tires come in, especially when they're cold and fresh.
And of course, that was a problem for a lot of guys, getting loose and making moves. But ultimately, I feel like the biggest difficulty was the line choosing. A lot of differences between the inside line, the middle, and the outside. What was it like for you to play that game along with the rest of the field and seeing which line mattered the most in a certain part of the race?
Yeah, it was really fun. This is, it's probably my favorite track. I mean, I love how you can spread out and just run the middle, the top, the bottom, whatever you want, and it's competitive and you can pass. And I mean, you look at the tracks we've been out the past few weeks, not necessarily in 4 wide, but back Kansas and Texas the past 2 weeks. I mean, you can't even pass. It's really hard. I mean, single groove, but this is one of the tracks where has not fallen victim to that yet. I mean, you can spread out and just really have a good race, and it's so much fun. I mean, I would imagine I probably ran the bottom and the top in 1 and 2 about evenly throughout the race. I mean, I couldn't make up my mind really where I wanted to go half the time. So, it's really fun to be able to move around like that.
5 wins on the season, 3 of them coming from the likes of 1.5 mile tracks. And ultimately, it just shows the strength of how good you've been at those type of venues. And now with the playoffs coming closer than ever, with a lot of them being 1.5 mile tracks, are the playoffs your strong suit? Is that going to be the sweet spot for you to get a championship this campaign?
I hope so. So there's that eliminator round, Nashville and Rockingham. That's a little worrisome because, as you mentioned, I mean, the mile and a halves are my bread and butter. I mean, I really enjoy these ovals and these tracks where you can spread out, get some long green flag runs and kind of run the line you want. But those shorter tracks, the 3 short tracks, and then the other kind of intermediate short tracks like New Hampshire and Rockingham, Nashville. Yeah, I mean, I kind of struggle on those sometimes. So we'll be looking to survive that round and hopefully get through to some. I think we finish off with Charlotte in Texas, which Texas is a little bit, it's a little bit of an anomaly, a little bit of an outlier. That track is just really tough, and as we saw this past week, I mean, it's impossible to pass. So that'll be a battle for track position in that championship race if nothing else changes between now and then.
So with these 5 wins, of course, you're locked in ready for the playoffs, and it's going to be a lot of fun when we change things up at Daytona 1 week from tonight. But before we let you go on this win, Lawson, anybody you want to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Yeah, absolutely. All my Drinking Bros teammates, Jesse Newbraw, Schaefer, Brandon Banks, CJ, Cody Kinsey, Matt Roberts, Tony Kibbett. We missed Joe and Daniel Michel tonight, but thanks to all my teammates. I really enjoy racing with them, and thanks to you and Francisco for putting on the broadcast. We just really enjoy it, and lucky to have you guys broadcasting us. And thanks to Tyler and Reedy and Cal Benson for making it possible. We just really appreciate what they do because they host us, and we have a lot of fun out here every week. So shout out to Paul's Setup Shop, and yeah, looking forward to getting on the rest of the season.
We certainly appreciate the words and the kind words that Lawson of us. I mean, it was disappointing we couldn't be able to cover the finish at Atlanta just 1 week ago, where you also won that race, but luckily tonight we're able to cover it from start to finish. Lawson, of course, on behalf of our team, want to send a huge congratulations on your 5th win here in 2022, and always best of luck as you move forward to Daytona next week.
Thank you, KB. I really appreciate it.
That's Lawson Peel in the 12 once again to victory lane after 89 laps led tonight. But you also got to give credit, Francisco, to Colin Forster, who comes home in P2, and you're caught up alongside him.
Well, Colin, it was another front row start, another fast night for you here from the Homestead-Miami Speedway. What did you think you needed this time to try and battle for the...
Hard to say. I mean, just track position, really, honestly. I feel like if I could get behind Lawson, I could stay with him pretty well. But it was super hard to pass all night, and just as it kept going, it got harder and harder to pass. Finally, I was able to get around Schaefer, and just not enough time left for me to try and make a run at Lawson, but I don't think I was going to get there anyway. But I'm actually fairly surprised with how well I ran here. It's definitely probably one of my worst tracks on iRacing, but super glad to show some speed here and be able to compete for the win and run top 5 basically the whole race, and just a super fun race overall.
Yeah, and of course, we saw a good amount of caution flags here throughout the contrast to not just yesterday, but in last season's race. Do you think that when you have a race like that where you have more caution flags compared to what you're used to, how much does that affect your strategy and your approach in the races when you have to take into account more restarts and having to kind of plan through that kind of stuff? One saw a mistake on pit road as well. How much does more cautions play into those kind of things being the case?
So, honestly, if there's a lot of cautions, it's really hard to judge what the strategy is going to be like, because you never know when you're going to have a caution, but they're just so random, and just you never know. You think you'll have a green flag run, and then you'll get a caution out of nowhere. I mean, I had a green flag run, and then I had like 5 laps of fuel left, and we got caution. Then we had like 4 or 5 straight, and then we went green probably about 15, 20 laps there to the end. So you just never really know. Just try to stay prepared for a caution at all times, and I mean, if I was in the lead, I wouldn't want a caution, but right there, I definitely wanted a caution to have a chance at the win, though.
Of course, and we saw you get a top 3 finish last season, another top for you here, Colin. You led 43 laps. It was definitely a strong. Who helped you put this sort of run together? This sort of finish here.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know how I really I think I just had pretty good throttle control. It seemed like you really needed to have throttle control, especially early on the run. Obviously, you've seen a bunch of people go sliding. I know Lawson messed up one time in 3 and 4. I messed up a few times in 3 and 4, just getting a little loose on entry. I just had to let it slide up the track, because if I just kept turning, it was going to step out even more. But it was really hard to go full pace early on once the tires were cold and stuff, once you had fresh tires and they're cold and all that. But once they got heated up, you were able to kind of like push pretty hard, but the car was very loose and very on edge. But it was a lot of fun to drive, but definitely throttle management, I would say, was what helped me in this race.
Oh, excuse me there. But yes, Colin, it's definitely tough out here. Kenneth and I, we've driven many these cars, and it's very difficult. We saw it happen all night on restarts, got place, and had trouble keeping their cars going in the right direction. But you were able to keep it going in the right direction. Brought it on Pre-2. We'll give you the floor to give the shout outs to everybody that helped make this possible.
Shout out to my dad for watching. Shout out to everybody on Stonks Motorsport. We put together a decent race. AJ finished right behind me. Curtis finished top 10. Kevin finished top 10. Lance fell off towards the end. But he was strong early. Adam I don't think he could really get into a rhythm. But also shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast. I look forward to going back and watching. And shout out to Tyler and everyone in the league for having me. I look forward to these races every Wednesday night, and just super fun.
We appreciate you taking the time with us, Colin, and another top 3 finish. We look forward to seeing you at Daytona. just a couple hundred miles north of where we are this week. Wish you luck.
All right, thanks, sir.
So Colin Forster gets P2, well rewarded P2 at that from the 99. We'll skip over to third. His teammate AJ Green comes in behind him, so Stonks Motorsports second and third. Definitely something to be happy about here from Homestead-Miami Speedway. We'll bring in AJ Green, who wraps up our top three. And AJ, of course, you had a very interesting race through the midfield. A lot of battles in the top five. At one point, 3 wide, 2 wide, all over the place. Walk us through how it was like to manage this car at Homestead over the long runs.
Well, I definitely don't like Homestead in these cars. I couldn't find grip anywhere, and at the end, I finally started running high 1 and 2, low 3 and 4, and it worked. I got P3, but all race I was running the top, and after 35 laps, tires just were gone, and I was falling back. I'd start 4th on a restart, and I'd fall back all the way to like 10th. Well, not very good, but I made some good passes and not really much strategy. Just staying out at the end, following what the people did in front of me.
And we saw a lot of guys get loose all over the place, including yourself. But then came that final run. Colin Forster, Eric Schaefer going side by side for laps on end. You're kind of the third driver out of that. Watching that happen, what was it like to watch them go side by side for a second and then ultimately take over third when Eric Schaefer had gotten loose out of turn 2?
Well, I was definitely excited because in the past race, Schaefer and me, we have a little beef between each other, and he passed me and he said thank you. A little. I don't know what he was trying to mean by it, but after the race, I messaged him, thank you for letting me by, and it's just, I think it's friendly beef. Who knows? But I was just watching. I thought Colin might have got taken out too. I looked back and barely made contact, but it was really close.
So it's a third place for you, second place for your teammate. And now before we let you go, AJ, I'm not going to act like I ignored it. A new paint scheme tonight, light blue with a happy face, crossed out words. What's the inspiration behind this one?
So it wasn't supposed to have crossed out words. Tyler messaged me and he said I couldn't have his name on the car. And so last second, I had to cross out all the words on it, and it turned out like that.
It's an interesting paint scheme. I was going to say there was no beef on the car tonight, so I was a little surprised this time from Homestead. But you bring this 48, this crossed-out Tyler Murray car to P3 before we let you go, AJ, on the run to the last races in the regular season. Anybody you want to thank for tonight's finish?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for broadcasting. Shout out to Tyler for letting me race. I had to change the paint last second. Shout out to Colin for a P2 and the rest of the team on Stonks. And shout out to my family for watching.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, AJ. Know that this finish is going to mean a lot coming to the playoffs later on this season where you're already locked in with that Richmond win. On behalf of our team, I want to congratulate you on the third place finish. And, of course, best of luck at Daytona 1 week from tonight.
Thank you.
So AJ Green brings the redacted number 48 to third place here tonight for the virtual Homestead-Miami Speedway. Solid run for himself, of course. Teammate Colin Forster, all chasing Lawson Peel, who ends up in the race lead at the right time and the race win by the end of it. Francisco dealing with a little bit of illness here, so he will not be able to give his final thoughts, but ultimately, I know he was just as happy as I was to see this race go green in some places. You had a lot of great racing, 4 wide, 3 wide, 2 wide, drivers getting loose and managing these race cars, but ultimately, Lawson Peel just continues what he's been doing since the drop of the green at Daytona, just putting on a race after race after race, and only getting better each and every time he gets a race win. Let's take a look at the rest of the season 4 schedule as it stands. Daytona will come up next, our second race at a super speedway. Of course, our second trip to Daytona. It'll be our final trip to the World Center of Racing. That's going to be a night race 1 week from tonight, June 1st at 9:10 p.m. Eastern. You can, of course, find all that coverage right here on the MaxSpeedTV YouTube channel. One more road course to go before we cap all that off. Watkins Glen in New York being our final. Kansas, the 1.5 miler in America's Heartland, noting our final regular season race. And we started off in the middle of June, late June to July, Nashville Superspeedway and Rockingham Speedway. The first 2 races in our first round of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs. So what a race for Lawson Peel, who gets win number 5 on the campaign. We'll see if he can do the same once again, get 3 in a row, get win number 6, if he can do so at Daytona. So for Tyler Murray and everyone from the admin team and race council, on behalf of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series, and from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, and for my colleague in the booth tonight, Francisco Bacalhau, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from the Homestead-Miami Speedway. We had a couple 100 miles up to the north to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway, 1 week from tonight.